welcome to episode 32 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I am joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week we looked at our first batch of games from issue 16 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were grossed out by Groovy Garden, galvanised into pleasure by Green Beret, and destimulated by Sam Fox Strip Poker. This week we conclude our look at the games reviewed that month, along with what was showing on TV and at the cinema in August 1986. Graham, educate us on the pleasures that await.
In this massive mixed grill of an episode, we strap on our sci-fi toolkits and go exploring the mysterious 3D tower-strewn world of Ceti. We tackle the stupid problem-solving demands of the inconsiderate ICUPS and debate the unfinished demerits of the crap and crapper Ollo 1 and Ollo 2. We also hack through the jungly, slug-paced, club-em-up nonsense of Legend of the Amazon Women, explore the complex world of undercover helicopter pilot neurosurgeons in Infiltrator, and decry the perplexing, unshelf-friendly packaging and contents of Nexus, if that enormous meaty platter isn't quite enough. We also take a look at the little computer people home invasion madness of Trax, slip into our Sunday best ninja suits, and tippy-toe around the dull rooms and dogs of Saboteur before finally boarding the good ship Delta Princess on a last-minute crime-solving cruise with murder on the Mississippi. How do you like your eggs in the morning? With a side of murder.
So let's get into our first game. Graham's eating a lolly, everyone. Graham's eating a mini fab.
Hello.
And he's now going to tell you about the delicious fabness, maybe, of Ceti. Graham, Tell us all about Ceti. Ceti?
I think it's Ceti, because this is Ceti Alpha 5. Just to throw in a random Star Trek quote. So, in the 2047, the future, there is a method developed that allows us to travel between planets and to nearby star systems and even build, our lives there. And first colonists left the Earth, populated 4 planets of the G-type, which were Alpha Centauri, Tau Ceti 3, Van Manen, and Beta Hydrae. Several months later, they reached the desert-like planet of Tau Ceti and started to build new worlds there. So you get this kind of idea that the background's very sci-fi heavy, very, very sci-fi world, very world-buildy. And in the first period of time over the life of Tau Ceti, everything was hunky-dory. And then things started to go a little bit wrong. And lots of resources were discovered on this planet, and it became the backbone of the society in Tau Ceti. So, moving further forward into the world, a deadly plague happens. I want to say Enk syndrome, but it could be Enki syndrome. So it broke out across all of these various colonies and left not many people around to survive. The few people that are left have got to try and develop this medication, and lots of sci-fi babble and story later. Tau Ceti 2046, blah blah. You get the idea that there's a lot of sci-fi back catalogue to this. In the meantime, Van Manen is repopulated and blah 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 blah. So what is all this? What does it all lead to? So this is actually a 3D puzzle. I say 3D, but 3D kind of first-person 3D puzzle explorer created by a great game designer, John Twiddy. John Twiddy goes on to do some amazing stuff later down the line, which I'm sure we'll talk about when it comes up. So you've got a kind of an interesting viewpoint on this because you've got kind of a 3D sort of... It's actually quite nippy 3D as well, fully filled in 3D as well, so not blocky naff vectors. It's actually got quite nice, albeit kind of small in the main view, 3D. And you can fly around the various worlds, entering the different aspects, different places. There's different palaces and I don't know what you call them, but bases, I guess you'd call them. And so you need to go through, and there's actually an adventure in here. You've got to kind of find this cooling system. You've got to assemble it. The parts are scattered across all the different planets. You've got to pull those together, shield the capital Centralis from this big explosion, and you've got a kind of armed, I think it's an armed aeroplane, but an armed jet fighter, whatever it might be. So you've got to fly around and find the various parts of this particular device, navigating your way through a kind of a 3D landscape. There's bases that you can dock with. In those, you can explore those bases using kind of a text-based command system. Quite simple, but a text-based command system. So you type in commands like launch. In fact, when you first start the game, you can actually type in the word name, and you can name your character, and then it forever uses your name throughout the game, and just stuff like that. It's a single load, all of this. So all of that world I've described, probably quite badly, but all of that world I've described, and all of the essence of the game, all of the viewpoint, the 3D, and it's not full screen 3D, it's kind of, there's a small section of the screen to that, and then the rest of it's given over to kind of to have displays and the kind of control system, which kind of like I want to say, icon-y sort of choose your kind of pathway system. How would you describe that kind of? It's sort of the way you kind of choose. Is it choosing paths? Is it choosing kind of routes? I don't know. It kind of presents you with options that you pick from. So that
which bit are you on about?
So when you get into the bases, you can, once you've typed in the commands, you can actually choose sort of different commands and different things you can do. And when you get further in the game. And you can shoot, so you can shoot different kind of missiles and lasers and do all of those things, and you can blow things up and do all of those stuff. So it's a great big 3D arcade puzzler explorathon with I think quite advanced and nice graphics, decent sound effects, or blowing up sounds, laser beam sounds, all the kind of thing. So it's kind of a shooty, explory game, and I actually didn't spend a lot of time on it originally. But I always felt that it was a game I could have done with spending more time on, and I did this time, so I spent a bit more time, and I actually quite had an interesting experience with it. I felt that they packed a lot into a single load in this game, and that there was it always felt that there was a lot to explore. It's a bit samey. Some of the graphics look a bit samey, so when you're shooting at the tower, things that are in your viewpoint and they're kind of shooting at you, you're not sure whether you could dock with them, whether you can go into them, but there's quite a variation of different types of things that you might encounter in terms of towers and buildings and things like that you can go to. They're kind of, you have to control your speed as you fly around, you can control your height, and you have to slow down to a sort of certain speed to be able to dock, otherwise you're going to fly into things and blow up. So there's some kind of flight logic / shooty game. There's lots of things to shoot at, and you get attacked quite a bit as you're flying around the different worlds and docking with the different bases. And I actually ended up getting blown up a lot. So I'm not sure if that meant that I was not necessarily achieving my aim of trying to get around and do stuff, but I had fun doing that all the same. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same camp there. It's a very solid... I've actually written 3D Explorathon as well, strangely. There you go. It sees you prowling the world of Ceti and your craft, trying to find... It's the 40 rods, isn't it? You got to find the 40 nuclear rods or something to put them back together again.
Yeah, that's right.
Something or other. It's from a technical point of view, just to say this is a conversion from the Amstrad Spectrum version, I think, which were created by Peter Cook. So it is actually not a John Twiddy original. It's a conversion. Supposedly it's the best of the lot. He improved on stuff that came from the other versions. And because technically this is incredibly impressive. I mean, obviously John Twiddy will go on to do some further incredibly impressive technical stuff down the line. But I think this is an early game of his, but this is pretty impressive 3D visuals. There's a lot going on here. I mean, it's not just pretty good 3D visuals. It's the fact, like you said, that they're solid. This is some, I don't know whether this is sprite scaling or carrot scaling or however he's done this, but it's really, really clever.
It's really clever.
You've got lots of good features, like when you fire a missile, they move pretty fast. They fly off. They trap stuff. You've got flares which can light up the surrounding area. There's even infrared when you get at night when it's all dark, you can see. It gives you a different colour scale and a colour scheme and everything. So that's quite useful, and you need to do that because it gets very dark at night. There's even a full day-night... Because you can set off flares,
can't you, as well, to sort of light things up?
Yes, there's a full day-night cycle as well. And the objects, the towers and everything that's around there have got animated shadows, so it actually moves around them. So you can see it gives you a timer as to how far away you are from dark, from dusk and everything. There's some really clever stuff going on here. My main issue with this is with most of these kind of games is I just wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. I just find these games a little bit impenetrable. It's a little bit obtuse. I think what happened was I just started shooting everything, and once I realised I could pretty much blow up everything, then I just blew up everything, and then I didn't know what else I was supposed to do after that.
I did exactly the same thing.
So it's like, I can shoot and blow stuff up. Well, I'm going to shoot and blow stuff up then. And that's what I did, and then I died after crashing into something that I thought I could dock with. But maybe I was going too fast. I couldn't be sure. There's a lot here. I reckon if you stick with this, if I'd have stuck with this, and I did try... back in the day to play this quite a few times, but again I think it's just I don't think I had I don't think I had the original. So in fact I know I didn't have the original, so it was one of those games that was on a tape and I would play it and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's quite cool, what's next? I never really probably didn't give it the time it kind of deserved, just for some reason. I don't know. It's the driller's coming down the line somewhere, and that's goddamn glacial compared to this. Yeah. So this is really impressive, and as a introduction from John Twiddy, it's a stamp of like, look what I can do. I liked it more now, I think, playing it now than I did when I was younger, which I think we've discussed this before, and you've said this about me previously when we reviewed the Eidolon. It probably comes down to my love of first-person shooters.
Definitely.
And, which this kind of is, I guess. you're trolling around shooting stuff in a first person. Do you have to be in a spacecraft that you're in? You could be running around. You don't have to be. I don't know. It's all right. It's good. Zapped really liked it. They gave it another 93%, same as Green Beret.
They did.
For me, it's just a bit. I don't know if I think I just need to give it more time. I think it's very clever, and you will get a lot out of this. It falls into that bracket for me. It's not like the Eidolon. This is more in the bracket of Quake -1.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think I'd agree with that.
Maybe not a viewpoint, but Zoid. It's that strategy, slow, thinky. Got to sort of take this your own time and sort of trying something quite impressive and innovative with the hardware of the time. And for that reason, I think it stands up today. It's like really nice touch. I like the fact you got shooting stars and stuff like that. It's good. It's good, but I need to probably give it more time than it's probably due, and I probably gave it here. So that's me. Anything else?
Nothing else to add to that. No, I think it's a game that is always worth going and playing. If anything, because like you said, John Twiddy is not famous for this game. But he is famous for one of the great games of all time. I think that's a legacy that he bequeathed. But it's really nice to see that the guy could really code. I mean, this has got plenty of complex coding chops on display. Yeah. And it's a very good game. It's also the gold medal of the issue, I believe, or one of the gold medals, of the issue.
No, it's just a Sizzler.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a gold medal. I don't know why.
No, there's no gold medal this issue.
Oh, because it's 93%. Why did I think that was a gold medal? I don't know. It doesn't matter why. Maybe I just went mad.
Maybe you did. I could see why this could have been gold medal material.
Yeah.
They like these sort of things, don't they? And I could see why. Strange that it's not.
Yeah. Maybe and they put a lot of effort into the sci-fi world of this game. So, I mean, I gave a taster of but go and download the cassette, the disc inlay, which you can do by just a swift Google search, and you really do get like a whole full-bore Asimov novel before you even enter the world of the game. So, there's a whole series of stuff that happens between the planets and between this illness and between, the plague that broke out and the fact that this certain expedition took place and they only found this thing. It's very well fleshed out, the world. So, if you've bought into that, by the time you've read all that, you're ready to enter the world of the game with John Twiddy's amazing coding and the graphics in there. So now go play it and see what you think.
Yeah, I'd agree. It is something that I would recommend you play. Yeah. All right, good. That's Tau Ceti, first game. Probably not sure I could say the same about our next one. So from Odin Computer Graphics, or is it Thor at this point? I don't know. They keep changing.
Not sure which
Odin,
god they've gone
Thor.
for.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got ICUPS. How do you pronounce this? What do you write?
I don't know. I would say ICUPS, I think.
ICUPS, yeah. I think, is it an acronym? I don't know. So ICUPS.
It is an acronym. It stands for International Commission for Universal Problem Solving.
So
I'll tell you that.
Okay, so it's an acronym, not an initialism.
Nope.
All right, so ICUPS. What is ICUPS? ICUPS is, well, I can only tell you about the first half of ICUPS because I couldn't get through the first half to get to the second half. And the first half is some weird, strange sci-fi spy hunter knockoff with nice visuals, as pretty much all I could do. So it feels like a vertically scrolling. Well, it's spy hunter, just going up. There's three levels. So the whole point of this is you are in training and you've got to get through all these levels to get to the next section. So there's two parts of this game. One is this top-down sort of shooter spy hunter type thing. The second is a more Nodes of Yes or style explorathon adventure game. I can't speak for that second half because I just couldn't get past the first three without losing all my lives. So maybe you did. Did you get to it?
No, I didn't, I'm afraid.
No.
It was.
Okay.
I found the first part. I had a look at it on the old YouTube just to see what it was like, because it is a side-scrolling game, isn't it, compared to the top-down sort of shooter game from the first part. So it is a very different kind of game, and you have to actually go around and collecting things in the second part. So essentially all I can really say about this is it's a very nice, quite nice looking, vertically scrolling spy hunter type thing where you get dropped off in your spaceship and you have to fly vertically. You can shoot. You can speed up, slow down. There are many other spaceships moving in towards you. You can bump them into the side. You can shoot them. More often than not, what happens is they get in behind you and just shoot you randomly and you're dead immediately. You have like 4 or 5 lives. They're gone. It's so hard to get through these first 3 sections. I tried a number of times and just couldn't get past it. It's not great. The woolly controls don't help because the controls don't feel tight enough. They don't feel snappy enough. They don't feel... they don't give you enough reaction to... There's a bit too much inertia
inertia.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to get caught and shot. I wanted to see the next section because we've spoke about this guy before. It's Stuart Fotheringham who did the visuals. Stuart Fotheringham did the visuals for Robin of the Wood, Bouncers, Nodes and Ark of Yesod, and loads of other stuff by Odin and these kind of guys. So I wanted to see that next section because I do like his visuals. They're really good. He has a really nice visual style on the C64. Just annoyed that I couldn't get to that section and see it and play it for myself because unfortunately his very nice visuals are tied to a not very good game because it simply is too hard, too unfair, too punishing and punitive to be really in any way, shape or form enjoyable. And really all this first section, like I said, it's just sci-fi spy hunter. I'm guessing if you didn't get through this first section as well, you're somewhere in the same ballpark.
Yeah, I felt the same. I thought it was hard to control and that weird inertia thing going on, which meant the movement was kind of odd and clunky and not really responsive. I thought the enemy logic was, I'm not even sure what you call that. It was pretty much just random stuff. Mm-hmm. So there seemed to be no rationale for anything. And with these kind of shooters, certainly the top-down shooters, patterns are kind of important because that's how you progress through the game. You know the patterns, so you know where to be and where to shoot and do those things. And they didn't do any of that. It was just things were all over the shop. I thought the graphics were actually okay, which obviously stands to reason knowing the pedigree of the person involved. And I felt they were actually out of place in this game. And when I looked at the side-scrolling part, you could almost see that there was the graphics are actually pretty good, but lost in a game of stupid difficulty that you're never going to really get to. The sound was awful in this game. Felt like it was ripped from Paradroid. It was kind of the same almost sounding stuff as Paradroid.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
An horrible bleepy and bloopy title music that felt out of place. So my mission to become a special agent for ICUPS was very short-lived, I have to say. I was never going to pass the first test, let alone get to the second part. And as much as it looked intriguing and it looked like it played okay, because you control a robot with a jetpack in the second part, it is derivative of other Odin computer graphics games. That's all I'm saying. So don't expect it to not look a bit like Nodes of Yesod, because it kind of does a bit. So I think that's the problem. You've got these kind of weird insect kind of enemies. I don't know what to make of it, really. I just didn't feel like it was coherent, and it was too difficult, and the inertia really kind of ruined it. So it got 49% in Zap. I think they were being generous a little bit considering this was full price. But either way, the scoring, as we've already said now, has kind of gone out the window with them for what they do. My feeling was that this was a shoot 'em up that lacked the player logic to be able to really progress. And because of that, it kind of, in the immortal words of Dragon's Den, I'm out. So it just put me off. So that was my time with it done.
Yeah, hiccups I think is a better name for this.
Hiccups, yeah. Too many hiccups.
Too many hiccups. Yeah, it's not great. I didn't feel like I was in control. I was getting bounced around, boinged off stuff, and just. Like I said, I gave it a good few goes, and if you can't get past level 3 to get to the next section, then because you're just getting shot, punitively, randomly all the time, it's not good, is it?
Yeah,
not good at all. No. Right? Okay, so we don't like hiccups, ICUPS. I'm in my cups. There you go. That's that one. But probably better than the next two. We've got a double bill coming up. Yeah. Double bills always bode well, don't they?
No.
When we get double bills. I think they do. I mean, I've always thought that the double bill games we get have always been our best.
No. So this is Ollo. Is it? Would you say Ollo or Olo?
It's Ollo, innit? Ollo 1 and Ollo 1 and Ollo 2.
And the adventurously named Ollo 2. These were two games for the price of $2.99, so $1.50 each essentially. So okay, they're cheap, but they're ugly and cheap. So just to quickly go through what they are in these games, you essentially you're a spaceship and you've got to use your laser cannons to shoot through stuff. So in Ollo 1, which I have to say, I actually named these games Shit 1 and Shit 2. And in Shit 1, or Ollo 1, I felt this was clearly unfinished. This cannot be a finished game. It was a shoot-'em-up that gave no indication of your score, running score, no indication of your lives or progress or anything. You just was presented with sound effects and aliens coming at you and things to shoot at. And once you died, it told you your score. So it said, by the way, you scored 1,500 points. Off you go again. So its graphics were kind of oddly okay, but the patterns of the aliens were very similar, very boring, and it was the same background over and over and over again with kind of flicky, buggy scrolling. So that was Ollo 1, not the greatest game. So let's even if we said, okay, Ollo 1, surely, from all the mistakes they made in Ollo 1 about not letting a player know the progression of their score or their number of lives or anything that actually gives an indication of progress in the game, because God knows that would be useful. Let's make sure we put that in Ollo 2. No, they didn't do that. So
No,
in Ollo 2, which I've just called Shit Z, you essentially are playing the game Z, but a much crapper and slower version. You've got a kind of UFO ship now with two different kinds of weapons that seemingly have no way of controlling the way they fire. They're just kind of spilt out of you like whenever they liked, really. So you got lasers and kind of bombs. You've got to destroy these sort of things that are on the land. A bit like you do in Iridium, you kind of got to destroy the sort of structures, which kind of are all over the place, but on a kind of a big 360 scrolling background. So the background, there's a difference between the first one and this one is in the first one you're just scrolling in one direction. This you can go in any direction you like. Not that it helps. I actually wanted to die in this game. I wanted to kill myself because I hated it so much. I thought I just want to die and try and find out how much I scored, because again, it doesn't tell you how much you score or what your lives are. You find that out when you're dead. It's actually really hard to die in this game. I just flew around. You can control your speed with kind of up and down, and then you control your direction with left and right. So rotate left, rotate right. So you've got that kind of control. That quickly gets crazy difficult for some reason I can't explain. So I found myself zooming fast, then suddenly spinning low and going, not quite understanding why I'd done the things. It didn't feel like sometimes the controls were responding to what I was doing. The game ends when you lose all your lives. Not that you would know how many you've got. So it felt like Ollo 2... or Crap Z was a stupid repeat of the same stupid logic that was wrong in Ollo 1, albeit that it was multi-directional. They felt like somebody had programmed some code, and it was almost at that kind of, what else could we add to these games? I'll just release them as they are. So I thought they were both absolute garbage, unfinished. Really, they should not have been released. Even at $2.99, this was a push, because there's no fun to be had out of these games. It's just endless, boring crap. So I didn't enjoy them at all. 27%. I would have given it a lot less. In fact, I would think they deserved far less than that. Maybe they gave them a little bit of that for the graphics. I don't know, but I would have given them around 9 or 10% because I don't think these games were finished. They certainly didn't look it to me. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much. They are very strange games because you've got essentially two shoot 'em ups, like one. And I use these other variants really loosely. One in the style of Terra Cresta, so vertical scrolling. But weirdly, I find it very strange that it almost felt like a shoot 'em up construction kit game.
They did look it, didn't they?
In a little way. And so that's what I felt. But, you could scroll. The screen scrolls slightly to the left and right, so it didn't all fit on. But it was just the same. You got those green enemies coming at you at first, and then I got through the red enemies, and I don't know what was going on. And the other one is more like...
wave after wave of rubbish.
So the next one, the second one, like you said, is like Time Pilot Z, Space Pilot 2. I thought the graphics were really messy.
Yeah.
The backgrounds were just, it's all that black and green. The only thing, I didn't mind the craters in the first one. They looked all right. Okay. They were okay. They looked like craters. They were big. They were
just repeated.
Always, it's like, there was the same crater over and over. So they obviously liked that. The sounds were okay. I did like as well the effect when the score appeared in the first game. Yeah. Weirdly, I thought that was quite nice. That's where the liking ends, because the rest of it's garbage. But for it made me laugh, because in the second one, I was flying around for ages. It felt like forever. And then I shooting stuff, and I thought, I'm doing really well. And then I got killed, and it went, you got 36 points.
Welcome to the world of letting you down with the most harshness possible.
Yeah,
I'm doing so great, you're doing crap. Try again.
What have I been doing?
Yeah.
So I've just noted here that it made me deflate and wonder what else I could do with my time, and it turned out that wasn't playing Ollo 1 and 2.
No.
So I just turned them off.
No.
They were just rubbish. I think you are spot on in that they're barely finished. They are the barest of core game loops.
Yes.
That somebody has programmed. They've programmed these systems, and they've gone, like you said, well, what else could we do? I just put them out.
Yeah.
Well, we need to put something now. We'll bundle them. You can scroll it all the way around. That one scrolls up and down. That'll do. That's all the kids want these days. Just stuff to shoot. Stick it out for £3. Tell them it's a bargain on a crap advert that some people will laugh at in 35 years' time. It's fine. It's fine. Put it out. And that's what this is. It's a mess of two messy shit shoot-em-ups.
It is. There's no way around that. That's what it is. Two crap. And like you've said, two turds in your hand isn't better than one turd in your hand.
It's much worse.
And it isn't. And even if it's a cheap turd, it's still a shitty turd.
It's like you haven't learned from the first turd being in your hand. Someone's put a second one in there, and then it's, all oozing through your fingers and stuff, and it's all messy and horrible.
No, you wouldn't get 27% was the fun out of this. You wouldn't get any. I didn't think it was any fun. In fact, like I said, it angered me to the point when I thought this is just unfinished. I've played student games when back in the day when I taught game design, and I've played games like this when they're turned in by students. This just feels like the kind of thing that they turn in as a kind of a test of an engine or something that's just explaining a bit of game logic. It's the kind of, the first submission. Yeah. It's certainly not something that I would have ever expected to have been a published, released game. It's shocking, really. Amazing what they put out in that back in the 80s that, but they would expect poor suckers to buy.
And also as well, not just that, they had a big, they had an advertisement for it, didn't they? They had an ad for it. Yeah. We looked at that, which was shit as well.
Exactly. Again, this is one of those granny games. Oh, look, it's 2 games for the price of 1, Adrian. I know you like them. Look, it's got spacemen on it.
You've got 2 IPs.
Exactly.
Be careful of them.
Exactly. I was going to say, just stand a bit closer to the microwave, will you? Your pacemaker might go a bit funny for a few minutes. So, no, it's not great, is it? So, no.
No. Trollo 1 and Trollo 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Ollo 1 and Ollo 2 are garbage. Oh, God. And this is coming up is our last game for the section.
It gets so much better. Oh, wait.
Legend of the Amazon Women.
Remember the Crapverts.
Remember the Crapvert. There was some very, there was the dinosaurs and women and not in
Death
the jungle.
Stars.
Death Stars and Valley the Guanji. None of that is in this game.
None of it.
None of it. And this was £10. £10.
So bad.
And when it loads up, one of the logos says the software that shines. And I went, this doesn't shine. You can't make a turd shine. You can't. You can't polish a turd.
No.
So, okay, so you play as Lady Sloane, who, after a plane crash in the Amazon, must go and rescue her daughter. That's it. There's your plot. What this is an awful version of Fighting Warrior Karateka.
It is, actually, yeah. Really awful.
Slow, flickery nonsense. And so, you have to go and rescue your daughter, and what that entails is Fighting Warrior. You walk along a path, you hit Amazon women until they're dead, you avoid the arrows coming from behind you, you repeat. The controls, they're slow, they're glitchy, they're cumbersome, they don't work half the time. The graphics, the character sprites are okay, they're not too bad, but the single colour backgrounds and the graphics, they're just horrible. Horrible, they're a mess. There's almost like colour clash in the backgrounds, and they're really bad. The characters themselves are really slow. It's all ploddy. There's not much I really want to say about this game because you just wander along hitting women. Yeah, I suppose you play as a woman. You play as another woman, but I don't know if it's the version I played or whether the first one. The first one is you play as a white woman hitting a black woman. This isn't great, but it takes. My final comment on this was it takes some doing for a game to make me pine for Fighting Warrior. But here you have it. Yes. Dog egg.
Yes.
This was awful. I mean, we wondered if it was going to be, whether you'd actually play a woman in the game. You do, so props. There's not many games where you play as a woman, in combat and in a situation, but that's all great. The rest of the game is garbage. It's rubbish. It's terribly bad. It got 49%, which is way too high. I thought this was... I could barely play it. I could barely... it's just horrible, ugly, bad. Did you find anything worthy of
it was
merit
horrible
in the Amazon?
Ugly and bad. You remember them? Horrible, ugly and bad. It was just rubbish, wasn't it, this? I mean, goodness me. I mean, we knew it would be because the Crapvert kind of sold us that eggy pudding right from when we saw that bloody awfulness. So when this game rendered its way onto my screen, I was presented with oddly drawn, at best, I think high-resi, kind of rendered-y, high-res sprites, graphics. And I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew that I was thinking, okay, if it's got graphics like Tir Na Nog, then this is going to be slow. So I was like, oh, look, I'm right. Now, in a fighting game, and even Karateka only really just gets away with it because of its, it's a very slow fighting game, but at the same time, there's a kind of a filmic quality and the graphics are kind of good, and you kind of let it go a bit of that. But you know what? Fighting Warrior wasn't without its problems. This one, it's like someone took all of the Fighting Warrior and the Karateka logic and just went, you know what? Let's take all of that really those good bits that do remain in those games, such as they are, and let's just remove them. We don't need that. We don't need any of that goodness. See, what you end up with is a clumpathon, where you kind of clump around. You're supposed to be an agile woman wandering around the jungle fighting Amazons. What you actually are is someone clearly wearing orthopedic shoes, or at least something, clumping around the jungle, picking up batons and slowly clumping and bowing and trying to jump and duck the arrows, which actually is almost impossible because of the slowness of the game. So this is like an uber shit version of Fighting Warrior, and I didn't think Fighting Warrior could be topped for its badness, because Fighting Warrior was really bad at places, Let's forget the fact that you went through triangle doors and you had to hit a cup with a sword in the 2 moves you could actually do. This one doesn't even really give you that. So you're meant to be fighting these Amazon women as you walk / saunter, plod from left to right. But in reality, I didn't really feel like anything I did had an impact, that any move that I wanted to pull off was going to happen this week. And that when I jumped or tried to duck anything, it didn't really do either. So I just everything I did happened 3 seconds after I'd actually wanted it to, which is not, for a fighting game, is a terrible thing. So I think this utter drivel game deserves nothing but contempt. It frightens me that these games are released when the machine is capable of doing better. I mean, when I thought to myself, I'd rather play Fighting Warrior than this, that in of itself is telling you a great deal about this game. I would rather have played Fist 2 than this. In fact, there's an argument, there's a number of different things I would rather have done. But Fist 2, Fighting Warrior, there's a number of games that are, just don't. This is just awful. I don't know why they do these high-res sprites. Is it a game that's on another platform that's been sort of ported? I don't know. I don't want to know what the lineage of this was. I knew as soon as I saw that stupid advert this game would be absolute crap, and I was right. And when I came to play it, I was like, you know what? I was right. What is frustrating is that you could have made a good game out of a game with Amazon women fighting and stuff like that. There's an opportunity there to be progressive, to have really good stuff going on, and what they ended up with was a bikini clad, I think, main character, or at least fighting bikini clad women with no kind of control that means anything, and just a poor game. I again think that Zapped were being stupidly generous at 49%, because there's no way this game's 50% good. No way. At $9.95, you'd feel stung and ripped off by this if you bought this, because there's no way you're getting to the end of that. You'd need at least a month of play to sit there and go plodding through the jungle at that horrible 1 or 2 frames per second speed that it presented you with. Awful, awful, awful. I hope I never see that game again, ever. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. Do you like it then?
Oh, yeah, it's all right. No, it's it was worse than Dog Egg, and I'm not even sure what that even is, what it even looks like.
Oh, worse than Dog Egg.
Yeah, it's like watching a dog lay an egg. That's how bad this is. Slowly and painfully.
I watched my dog do that once. It was really horrible. Really horrible. I felt sorry for him.
I once watched a dog poop out a carrier bag in the park. Don't ask me how or why I was there and why that was happening. I don't know. It wasn't my dog, but I actually watched a dog as I was just enjoying some peace and quiet in the park. Just came up into the middle of the field and just poops out a carrier bag, very painfully as well. It's kind of whimpering and crying at the same time. Horrible. I'd much rather have done that than play his game, so that tells you.
Yeah.
In fact, I would rather have been that dog and just gone into the middle of the field while someone was having a picnic and just poops out a carrier bag in front of them and done the same painful expressions and woeful looks and kind of shifting around, a bit like a dog scoots, doing that. I'm doing that.
Oh, white dog poo.
There's an image. It will never leave you now.
It won't. So we're going to leave you, dear listeners, because that's the end of that section. We're going to leave you with the image of carrier bag crapping dogs as we move on to this kind word from our sponsor.
Go for it.
Hey, we'll see you in a bit, where we'll be looking at films and TV for August 1986. Please, 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 please stay with us.
Yeah, cling on.
Don't carry on. Carry her on. Thanks to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find dirt cheap books and audiobooks for your Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and, well, everywhere. Dave was heavily influenced by the Commodore 64 and pays homage to many of the classic games throughout his books. His first book, Ruminations of a Wayfarer Reboot, is 700 pages of sci-fi space opera for under a buck. His mind was on Mercenary, Paradroid, Elite, Impossible Mission, and PSI 5 Trading Company when he wrote it, but not Empire, or the comic game. Not those. No, not those. Visit davidhearnwriter.com, that's David, Hearne, writer.com to find out more. Hello, welcome back. So, what's going on? Film and TV, August 1986. Right, in the world of TV, on the 1st of August, US sitcom The Golden Girls makes its British television debut on Channel 4. And I'd just like to say to you, Graham, thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Everyone loved that theme tune. In answer to your question, did all mums love this show? I loved this show.
Did you really?
Yeah, I loved The Golden Girls.
What channel was it on? Was it Channel 4?
Channel 4, yeah. It was great. And looking back on it as well, I think it's quite... You're talking about a show in the mid-1980s about four older women, because there was the mother one as well.
Yeah.
Four older women, all as well, quite still quite sexually active. Everything. This is quite an unusual sitcom to air, but also being about friendship but also you had Blanche Dubois.
Blanche Dubois, was it? My name is Blanche.
I think it might be Blanche Dubois. And so you had there was Sylvia. I think was it Sylvia? No, what was the other one's name? I can't remember. There's the three of them, the three main characters, and then there was the mum. And so it was I thought was quite brave, and also I did enjoy it at the time, but it was a counterpart to things like Cheers and all those kind of classic mid-80s, early 80s American sitcoms that we got over here. I used to enjoy it, but I'm not sure. I think my mum did love it. My brother certainly loved it as well. I watched it with my brother. We used to enjoy it, so it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Weird one.
I think I watched it. It wasn't something I went... It wasn't one of my go-to shows, obviously. And it was it's Blanche Devereaux was the...
Blanche Devereaux. Blanche Dubois is in Streetcar Named Desire, isn't she?
Blanche Dubois. It's Blanche Devereaux, Rose Nyland, Dorothy Zabornak, and I believe... She's the divorcee. I can't remember all that. And then there's the... Sophia, I think, was the older one. I can't...
That's it, Sophia.
Anyway, I remember watching a few of them, and it was quite a long-running series. I think it ran for quite a number of years. So interesting. And Channel 4 had a habit of picking things up like that. I wasn't sure if it was ITV or Channel 4 that aired the Australian soap opera Prisoner Cell Block H. I think it was actually ITV, thinking about it.
Yeah, it was, yes.
But some of those late-night slots down in the 10 o'clock doldrums, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock doldrums on the ITV and Channel 4, you started to get a few of these. Roseanne, I think, appeared around that time originally, before it was kind of repositioned a bit earlier on when it became popular. And there's a number of others that appeared around that time. Soap was one I remember that being
I was just going to say Soap. Soap is the classic. Soap was so good.
I don't remember a lot about Soap other than the name Soap and the music.
This is the story of two families.
That's right.
I can't remember what the...
And remember Benson was another one, wasn't it? Because Benson was a spin-off of Soap, wasn't
it? Yes, it was, yeah.
So, but I remember, and a lot of my exposure to multicultural television, for want of a better description, was actually on account of some of the American kids and TV shows. So things like Benson, Golden Girls, and even as bizarre as this is going to sound, Sesame Street introduced me to more cultural, different presenters and cultural backgrounds, different ethnicities than anything in the UK ever did. Everything you got on UK TV was kind of a middle class or upper class white woman, white guy, sort of, especially kids TV, kind of from that position. It changed slightly later when you got... They've had sort of presenters as it kind of developed over the time period into the 90s. But at this particular time, some of these TV shows from America were kind of a breath of fresh air, even things like... Because Channel 4 had Cheers, didn't it? And, of course, that was later than Frasier. And there's a number of great shows that have come out of there. And they do sitcoms really, really well, annoyingly well, the Americans sometimes. So
don't forget. In the UK, it wasn't that bad. With things like Only Fools and Horses, but I think you still had. I see what you're saying, because you had. I don't know. That's from more the 70s, but you had like Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, To the Manor Born, and things like that. So there's a lot of The Good Life. So it was a lot of middle class.
Yeah, Butterflies to some extent.
I suppose we'd already talked about Bread, but then spread was more of a drama, wasn't it? In that sitcom slot.
Yeah, kind of comedy drama kind of sort of angle.
Yeah. But the US were good at those.
Yeah, they
those
were.
Things.
Yeah, they were.
There you go. But on the same day, I think on the 1st of August, Michael Cashman made his EastEnders debut as Colin Russell, the soap's first gay character.
I remember that. I remember that quite well. And then later, of course, it was revealed that one of the main characters had HIV as well, which was, I think, Mark Fowler.
Yes,
so
he did,
EastEnders actually was pretty progressive back then. I don't know what. I don't watch any of those things anymore. I did go through a phase of watching them, and it's a big endless TV melodrama, isn't it? And so it is what it is. But they do bring these things into these soap operas and try and deal with them in that way. And perhaps they didn't shy away from things that perhaps at that time Coronation Street kind of did. They focused more on the interplay between relationships and how they go sour, and in terms of so-and-so cheated on so-and-so. So Mike Baldwin was cheating with Deirdre Barlow, and Ken Barlow would periodically go mad, and that was kind of a triangle that went on for a long time. And they went off in their own weird territories. And EastEnders did have a weird wife-beating pub landlord. It had its first openly gay character. It had lots of diverse characters in it right from the get-go. It was always the aim of it to be that. And I quite admire the writers and the producers of EastEnders for kind of trying to tackle that, albeit that obviously it always goes the way of the soap opera, hence the soap opera part. But that's for 1986. That is pretty progressive, isn't it? And remember, at this time, probably around this time, this is when we start to get those awful government adverts where for HIV and AIDS and all of that kind of thing, and the whole...
They were very, very effective, though, weren't they?
They were, but they were also, but at the same time that the TV shows are trying to promote more open agendas for gay characters and for other things and trying to open that, the government narrative at the same time and the popular media narrative in those early 80s up to this point when things started to get a bit more figured out was that tombstone crashing to the floor with "Don't die of ignorance," and when we were all fed this kind of weird narrative, somehow it filtered its way to our ears at school level when we were all at school about all of the various things that were happening in the world around HIV and the sadness and how it had affected homosexual people across the world. Hadn't really been the interplay that was fed into the UK narrative until much later. It was just kind of this illness that came about and taking chances like having openly gay characters and then later on characters that developed illnesses like HIV. It's very brave. So I admire EastEnders for that. I think it's but they always kind of did it, whereas Coronation Street went down a weird path, didn't it? It ended up with Deirdre Barlow being imprisoned for something. I mean, that's random.
Yeah, yes,
random.
Yeah.
So with the Wolford one, whatever she was, it's just weird how it all goes. I suppose they take everyday occurrences and have to make them soap opera, operatic. So very massive melodramas of good and bad and
absolutely
all that kind of thing, tragedy and comedy and all that.
And you have to watch out for trams.
You do, yeah. And in that scene, who was it who got killed by a tram in EastEnders? In Coronation Street.
It was Corrie, wasn't it? In Coronation Street.
You know what? I want to try and remember.
Alan Bradley, was it?
That's it, yeah, because he was the one that killed somebody or other, and
then he got hit by a tram in Blackpool, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Awful business, yeah.
Awful, yeah. It's not real. He didn't really get hit.
What's awful about that is that he was in Blackpool because the thing is that the irony of it is that it's full of illuminations. So he would have been seen by that tram because it was literally the most illuminated road in Britain, and he still got smacked into by a tram. So that's what happens. Karma. There you go.
There you go. 9th of August, the Yorkshire Television ITV region, and so we were pretty lucky here, becomes the first UK terrestrial channel to broadcast 24 hours a day. Initially simulcasting the cable and satellite music video channel Music Box throughout the night. The other ITV regions gradually switched to 24-hour television over the next 2 years. Now, I was surprised that this was 1986 because I remember staying up and watching this.
You did?
I was only 14 at this point.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
But the reason that I didn't really mention Cutting Crew, I Just Died in Your Arms, that song was on heavy rotation on these shows. And that's when I saw that was in the charts and then this was in the same month. I was like, that makes sense because I remember that song. That's the one song I just remember playing. That and Cutting Crew and It Bites. Was another one. But yeah, so I do remember watching this, staying up and watching a lot of the TV stuff as it went through the night. It was kind of revolutionary, wasn't it? It was kind of groundbreaking and kind of strange to sort of 12 o'clock. You were just used to the telly going off, and suddenly it was like, no, it's 6 hours of music.
Yeah. Because the Music Box logo was a revelation. Because I remember thinking it was MTV. Like I remember thinking it was kind of MTV, and we didn't have any real experience of MTV at that time because it was kind of locked onto a Sky channel. So this was the next best thing for free. And so you ended up being kind of weird late night TV, didn't it? And it led the way then into, your weird shows like Hitman and Her and James Whale Radio Show and Sledgehammer. Then you'd have music box production shows, like there was a weird chart show variation, and then there was Raw Power / Power Hour, which I think is what it was called originally. And all of those shows were all music box productions. So they were clearly built for that music channel, but ended up on ITV. And I think that's probably responsible for my GCSE grades. Essentially, some of that late night, gawping at the Yorkshire TV, because when they brought that in, and I had a TV in my bedroom at this point. As much as it had a faulty volume control, which meant at any point it could just go really loud, and I wasn't really allowed to watch TV till 2 or 3 in the morning. But often I did and of course if. God help me if Transworld Sport came on at any point in time, because that was it. Once you'd watch Transworld Sport, you were awake for the rest of time. That was it. It was going to. It was a weird fact that once Transworld Sport was shown and you saw the opening credits, you were never going to sleep. That was it. You were awake forever. So, forget any chance of dropping off to sleep. Transworld Sport, for some reason, it made your eyes open and kept your brain active in ways I can't explain.
You could combat it, though, by putting on 2001.
Yes, later down the line, that did actually work.
That was the balance, had to. If you suffered Transworld Sport, you put 2001 on.
Yeah,
it's like
and the video. The amount of times though I woke up to a room bathed in red light, blood red light, going, Dave, I'm losing my mind, Dave. I'm like, what's going on? I thought I was watching, water polo from Japan. What's going on? So weird. Yeah, but cool that we had that first.
Yeah, through the night TV was a proper revelation.
It was. Yeah. It really was.
And also, because I've always been one that's not gone to bed early. I just don't do it. I'm a late night person. I'm not a morning person. I'm a late night person. So
I'm a beach person and a night person.
I'm a late night person, and I like to. I always wanted to see some of my things hanging on Yorkshire TV. Go watch Amazon Women.
Go and watch Amazon Women. We've already said it. Yeah, do that.
We've already said it.
You're never going to get that joke unless you do.
No. 21st of August, Channel 4 announces the introduction of its red triangle to indicate certain late-night feature films for which special discretion may be required.
Yeah, rude and naughty. Naughty vision.
Usually foreign, usually European.
Almost certainly foreign.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of those red triangle movies. They're the formative years. I'm pretty sure I probably should have watched more. I actually probably was exposed to more Jean-Luc Godard movies at that point than I ever cared to think about, but I didn't pay attention to that. I was on Boob Watch or Naughty Bits Patrol. What actually resulted from that, because I don't think actually that many of the red triangle films had lots of nudity in them or anything like that. They did occasionally. It was Euro nudity. So, we're just going to say, I'll leave that to your imagination, but there was more hair on some of those women and men than there ever should be. So, and also I have tried to narrow down, because I worked out that I've seen almost every Alain Delon movie, and I couldn't really figure out why. I was thinking, how have I seen Borsellino and Co? And where have I come across these films? And it's that stupid red triangle, because he's in almost every one of those films they showed. So I've watched, by process of trying to scan movies for any signs of boobs or nudity or any sexual content like you do when you're a bit of a randy teen, as it were. I actually ended up watching pretty much the entire Alain Delon back catalogue and filmography, so that's always a bonus. Didn't help though. These are formative years, and God help us what was in there. I remember a Emmanuel Burt movie. Couldn't tell you anything about the film, but I remember she was in it. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. In other sexy news, 26th of August in Emmerdale Farm.
as it was known then.
Original character Pat Sugden died after rolling her car down a hillside to avoid a flock of sheep.
The old flock of sheep rollage. Of course, it's not called Emmerdale Farm now. It's just Emmerdale.
It's just Emmerdale, yes. Very soon it'll just be Emma.
And then it's just M. And then E.
And then just E.
Yeah, I don't remember who Pat Sugden was. I don't remember anything about. I wasn't a soap opera watcher, but if I did watch any, it was kind of EastEnders or Coronation Street.
Emmerdale Farm was the one on before.
Yeah,
it was the one on before. It was the Tuesday and Thursday night one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because I think Coronation Street back then was just Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, and my memories of Emmerdale
every night.
Emmerdale Farm, because I've not seen any of the recent ones, and I know it's full of quite attractive characters now. Back then, it was just old. It looked to me as a young person, it just like it was full of old people talking about farm-related problems. Oh, yeah, you're bogged down with foot rot this week, aren't you, Phil? oh yes, and my, and it was just like, well, I don't want to watch any of that, Oh, my gates come off, it's hinges. Are you going to help me? Oh yeah, don't you be looking at my missus, you bloody. And it was just full of stuff like that. I don't remember
you know
thinking.
It was set in Yorkshire, don't you?
I was trying to avoid doing any kind of localized accent for fear of repercussions.
So you did one anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was, but you get the idea. Wasn't my cup of tea. So
no.
Pat Sugden getting killed by avoiding sheep.
Yorkshire tea.
It's just a hazard of the time, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. There you go. It happens.
It does.
30th of August, BBC One began a run of films making their debut on British TV under the banner of Saturday Night at the Movies. The first in the season is Harold Becker's 1981 drama Taps.
They weren't going for a big audience then.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
I've never heard of that film or Harold Becker.
Taps, I believe, if I remember rightly, Taps is set in a military school, military academy.
Okay.
And I think something to do with that. That's about as far as I go. I'm not quite sure whether one of them where it all goes a bit wrong. I can't remember. 31st of August, debut of Alan Bleasdale's 4-part World War I drama, The Monocled Mutineer, on BBC One. The series caused some controversy when some right-wing newspapers cite as an example of what they believe to be left-wing bias of the BBC.
Oh, goodness me.
It never, ever ends.
Doesn't it? It just shows you that this kind of stupidity is endless and has always been present during any kind of broadcast production. Worse still, of all the things the BBC is, left-wing is not necessarily what I would have branded it as, but you know what? I wasn't.
Really?
The fact that they put those words into a sentence means I would never have watched that. No, Monocle, Mutineer, BBC, and Alan and Bleasdale, and that's enough for me. I'd have been like, no, those words make no sense in any combination for me at all. No,
I am turned off. I am turning off. I'm going to go watch the British television premiere of the James Bond film For Your Eyes Only on ITV same day. I'm off to watch that.
I am not going to get a case of the Bleasdales. I'm going to watch For Your Eyes Only, which is a James Bond movie that I hate. I really hate it. I hate it.
Why? I quite like For Your Eyes Only because it's quite low key.
It's awful.
It's also got the It's also the true follow up to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, isn't it?
Yes,
because it's got the beginning bit.
Yes, that's the only bit I like. He kills Blofeld by dropping down a chimney off a helicopter at the beginning. That's fine because, of course, at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, James Bond's wife gets killed by Blofeld, and this is his revenge for that. So that does neatly tie that loop.
And isn't this one all around some computer?
Yeah,
some sort of computer. It's Atactus in Cyrils, the parrot.
Yes.
Parrot gives the game away.
Yes,
I seem to remember.
It is exactly. Yes, you got it spot on. The thing I don't like about this is it's not a very good James Bond because at this point he's borderline decrepit anyway, but not great.
He's not bad in this one. He's only 50% dust.
He's just his eyebrow rising kind of ugh. And it's got one of the worst, if not the worst, James Bond themes because it's awful. So
Sheena Easton, isn't it?
Sheena Easton singing "For Your Eyes Only."
It's got a good scene. It's got a good scene where they get dragged through the water. I quite like that bit.
Well, you say good scene, I say bad scene. I don't like it. I don't. I'd kind of lost my faith in James Bond movies at this point. They're heading down a very naff path, and it was clearly time for James Bond to, in that incarnation, to have a bit of a rethink. It was getting a bit, James Bond was starting to look less like a British super suave, sophisticated secret agent and more like a pensioner on holiday, and that's never that's never good. It's never good at all.
No, when he can get his way into secret meetings with his bus pass.
Well,
that's never what you want.
Exactly, and if he's going to shoot his wall for PPK, and there's a likelihood that he's going to shatter his wrists. Just no.
Oh, you don't ever want that. Right, okay, so that's your TV. What have we got for films? Well, there's some biggies here. We've got, on the 1st of August, Cobra. Is out. No, I watched that not too long back, Cobra.
I watched it yesterday, in fact.
Oh, really?
For this podcast, I did, yes. And I hadn't actually seen it since then. It's the first time I'd watched it since 1986.
Here. It ain't good, is it?
No, and for good reason. I hadn't watched it again. I was not impressed with Sylvester Stallone's, what's he called? Cabretti.
Marion Cabretti.
Stupid. He wrote this film. Did you know that? He wrote it.
I know he did, but why has he got, I don't know why, but why has he got a massive Pepsi advert in his garden?
Because it's, I suspect...
Sponsored by Pepsi.
Sponsored by Pepsi.
But who would have that in just real life? Who cuts their pizza with scissors?
And why does he do that? It's really stupid. He's got a big computer with tiny little monitors as well. Made me very uneasy, that did. And just stupid I mean, in actuality, right, because it's a George Cosmatos movie, and it's the same guy that made Rambo 3 and Tombstone. So
it's a Sylvester Stallone movie then, isn't it? Let's face it.
It is essentially. And there's the opening sequence of it, where there's the kind of axe gang clanking their axes and weapons together in kind of and there's a motorbike and there's kind of that red background. And I have to say, there was a striking similarity to some of the look of that in that recent Cosmatos movie. I think it's his son. It's a horror movie with like a motorcycle gang in it and weird demons from beyond, and Nicolas Cage is in it. It's a really strange film. I can't remember the name of it. Mandy, yeah. So the way that beginning 5 minutes look with the sort of bright red background, the motorbike, the sort of surreal shots of the gang clanking their axes together, it had a feel of that. And I thought to myself, maybe there's something in this. Maybe this beginning bit is actually quite unique for the time, completely different to anything I didn't remember it at all as that. Then it went straight into kind of 80s RoboCop in super cop territory. So Q guy into supermarket blowing, where he goes into the supermarket and shoots out the fruit. I'm like, you madman. No,
stop, those melons ever done to you?
Exactly, stop shooting at the grapes, you crazy. And then he just randomly shoots a guy for no reason, even though he's had plenty of opportunity to do that. He just tells this guy, you're free, and then just blasts him in the back. At this point, somehow, Stallone's character just wanders in to this scene and sneaks upon the guy and issues his line, crime is the disease, I'm the cure, and blammo. And he throws a knife into him at this point, doesn't he? So he actually doesn't kill him with his gun. He flicks a knife straight through his chest and then shoots him like multiple times just to make sure. Because the guy's apparently got a bomb, which he just doesn't matter. He's got a bomb. He just drops that. It doesn't matter about that. And then it's just so stupid. He's got sunglasses on through most of this movie, hasn't he, Stallone?
Yep.
And a match in his mouth, either match side out or match side in. I would say that's dangerous. That's just putting it out there. I know he wants to live dangerously and bail out the super cool guy. His choice of car is just inexplicable. It's like he's stepped out of 1936 in some kind of armoured grey tank. I don't even know what you call that kind of car. It's really weird. And then he bumps into, he starts hitting the stereotypes immediately. So the angry boss at the police station stereotype is there. The mayor's definitely shooting things up his ass, or his ass is on fire, or and then it's kind of the interplay is actually kind of a take on Dirty Harry. So it's actually almost like a weird shit remake of Dirty Harry in the sense you got this, the superpowered cop likes to go in gung ho, blow things apart, shoot everybody, ask questions later kind of approach. Then in the middle of all that, you get the music video. The two music videos. So you get the really, really weird photo shoot, which I have to say ranks as one of the weirdest photo shoot montages of all time, where Bridget Nielsen is just in various outfits, one of which is so skimpy, it's unbelievable.
It's not even there.
Yeah, it's like she's just wearing an elastic band over her flu, and she's just next to giant robots. I don't get it. I don't get why. It keeps cutting to like the scene of her doing that, angry gang violence, and these giant silver robots. It's really, really weird. Really weird. I think
the answer you're looking for here is cocaine.
Yes, I think there's plenty of that. I think you need plenty of that if you're going to try and make sense. Anyway, the story, such as it is there's a vicious gang of murderers going around randomly killing people, knifing people, the knife attackers, who are some kind of cult gang, I think. And the police can't figure it out because as always in these 80s things, the normal police are just useless shit who can't do anything. So they just can't figure it out. It's like, and the way they refer to him as the Cobra makes me laugh as well. Call the Cobra. Get him. Get that guy. You can't solve this. You're not capable of solving this in any normal capacity. Get a guy in who kills everyone to solve it. He'll figure it out.
You're just a boa.
Yeah. So
good if all the cops are just snake names.
Stallone's character is a police officer, I think, skirting perhaps on the edge of criminality. Anyway,
that sounds about right.
Long and short is Bridget Nielsen's character witnesses the axe murder gang killing an innocent woman, but manages to survive. They go after her because one of them's a police officer. They go after her, figure out where she lives, figure out where Stallone lives in the funniest attack sequence of all time, where he gets attacked outside of his house. It doesn't last long for those poor people who try and attack him. And then the crazy guy goes to the hospital, and it gets funnier and funnier as the scenes progress, inevitably ending up in a confrontation between the ultimate bad guy and the ultimate good guy. And it's a role that Stallone repeatedly played over and over again, so it's not dissimilar to Demolition Man in the sense of his positioning in that, and Judge Dredd and his position in that. And so Stallone as the superhero. The guy that plays the evil bad guy was quite interesting. He actually plays it, perhaps overplays it really, really well. I think it's the same guy who's in Fright Night as one of Fright Night 2, actually, as one of the henchmen, I think. Kind of a big jawed, kind of European looking dude. Kind of plays it well.
I can never remember his name, but I think he's also the original alien bounty hunter in the X-Files series.
Yeah, actually, yes, you're right. That is him. Yeah, it's a big, fighty dude. And then, of course, there's going to be a fight sequence in that, and horrific, and lots of sort of throwaway lines in this, isn't there? And it's very, because Dirty. I mean, we often go, when we've looked at these kind of films before, whether it's been this or the Schwarzenegger movies where there's the kind of shining on lines that they say, stick around and all that. But in actuality, if you actually roll the clock back, Dirty Harry was doing that in 1970, whatever it was, 1978 or 75, whatever Dirty Harry came out. So you've got the loads of one-liners that Clint Eastwood used to come out with in those films, and so he kind of really started that off. And this kind of follows on from that. So, but my rewatch revealed to me only that it was as crap as I remembered. That Stallone is actually, is an amazing looking guy in that film. I mean, in the sense of a superstar performance, and the way he looks, he's kind of very super stylized. And Bridget Nielsen's quite a striking female lead in there as well. I think they even met and dated, and I think they were in a relationship maybe at that time, or became one.
Yeah, they were. They met on Rocky
yeah, so
4,
so they were kind of together. She's not a great actress. He's not a great actor. He wrote the script for this, so you can expect the script isn't what you'd call amazing, but it is what it is. I don't really want to say to people, go and watch it. I think as a film that came out of the 80s, its heart is truly well and truly in the 80s. There's no doubt about that.
He's the guy who wrote about was Brian Thompson.
Yeah, he's definitely the one out of X-Files. There's no doubt about that. It's him.
Yeah, he did loads of things. He was in Moonlighting, Knight Rider.
Yeah. He often played that kind of bad. He was kind of that kind of odd-looking.
He played Hopkins in Falcon Crest.
Yeah, he's a ferocious-looking kind of guy, and he plays it well in this film.
Alien Nation.
And some of the murders in it, in the early sort of first 2 or 3 acts of this, because it later turns into a kind of a silly chase movie, but the first few acts where the Axe gang are going around murdering a few people, there are a few brutal murders in there, people getting stabbed in the neck and stabbed all over, and lots of stabbage going on with his studded knife stabby that he's got. So pretty grim stuff, but it does, I think, halfway through change to a kind of a Stallone as the hero saving the damsel in distress from repeated attacks by the baddies, to the point when it's the big confrontation, and you know where it's going to go. I was half expecting there to be a shock twist ending a la Die Hard, when the bad guy sort of reappears just in the last few minutes and then gets gunned down, but that didn't quite happen in this, so there you go.
We're not there yet.
No.
On the same day, if you didn't fancy Cobra, you could have gone to see The Colour Purple.
Very different experience.
Very different.
Yeah, good film, The Colour Purple, but very different experience.
Very, very different. Spielberg. It's the first of Spielberg's sort of step away from big event films, really, isn't it?
Jaws is and Jaws is. Not that it's called Jaws is.
Yeah, I think was this after, because this is after, but was this what he did straight after Temple of Doom?
Yeah, I think it's something.
That was 84.
It's somewhere in that realm, isn't it? Yeah.
Because he did this, or was this following on Empire of the Sun?
Yeah, it's in that period, isn't it? Yeah.
Always as well.
Both great films, I have to say. Colour Purple's a really good film.
It is good. Raw Deal, 6th of August. If you didn't have enough machismo, Hollywood machismo in Cobra, 6 days later you could go watch Arnie in Raw Deal.
Raw Deal is awful, though. It is. I mean, Cobra's bad, but Raw Deal is utter garbage.
It is dog egg. Yeah, it is the worst of the. I think it's the worst of the Schwarzenegger 80s.
Oh, it's
canon.
terrible.
And that's got Red Heat in it.
Terrible film. Raw Deal.
List. It is bad. A few days later, on the 15th of August, you could go see Iron Eagle.
A lot of these films came out in the 80s, didn't they? Hit cinemas. These kind of, there were canon films kind of catalogue here.
Well, Iron Eagle sort of on the back of Top Gun, isn't it?
Yeah, same deal, now.
Sort of thing. Then there was a film called Midnight Breaks. Now, I could only find something on this that said it was actually released in 1990, but I don't know anything about it. However, at the end of the month, 29th of August, Highlander. Highlander was actually a financial flop. Oh well, I'm not surprised. Losing $7 million at the box office, cost $19 million and made 12.
Well,
yeah, so that does not surprise me.
It's easy to think that it was a big hit, because obviously it became a somehow And I am not understanding how it not only became a cult hit, but spawned sequels and a TV series.
I know. And then crossovers and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And, and also we've got the video game coming up.
Oh, goodness, Lord help us. But it's just a really odd film, Highlander, because it isn't really a film, is it? It's a series of music video type editing and components and production values thrown into a film with such a loose plot of, which makes literally no sense in any capacity. And now the idea of there being a kind of a universal fight between sort of demigods that ends with one of them being the overall winner, nothing wrong with that. That's actually pretty cool. But it all goes wrong from there, doesn't it? And I haven't got time to list the things that are wrong with this film in the sense of this podcast. We'll be sat here next week going with hoarse voices going, and then Estevez then says to, and we'll just be sat there whispering these such terms going, and then the Kurgan then, and it's just a collection of sequences loosely stitched together with the most, I think, and you can correct me if you might agree or not agree, the most bizarre cast in a film pretty much of the 80s.
I'm not going to disagree on that one. It's a mess.
It is. I mean, got a famous French actor playing a Scotsman. As weird as that sounds, and we've said it before, but that is stupid. Apparently, he was in vocal coaching for months. No surprise, really, with him being French, that he would have trouble with some of the intricacies of a Scottish accent, really. And it didn't show in the slightest, did it? In the film, you could spot. He was
pure Glaswegian,
flawless Glaswegian / Highlands voice. Especially where they went Dougal. He said Dougal better than most Frenchmen ever say Dougal. And then slip over to Sean Connery, who plays an Egyptian.
Yes.
Called Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
As the Kurgan says, Ramirez. Every time he says it like that. I think it was in his contract. And so his accent isn't Egyptian. I'm not even sure what. It doesn't matter, really. I think at a certain point, they just thought, you are what you are. It doesn't matter. So you've got the various Highlanders coming. Some of them are... Does it ever explain why some of them are immortal?
Nope, not that I remember.
That's fair. Anyway, without going on and on and on about it, it culminates in a big battle, doesn't it, between... Is it John Nash's name or something like that, isn't it? Or something Nash.
Something like that. I to be fair, I've not watched Highlander in years because the last time I watched it, I realised it was crap.
Well, I sadly watched it reasonably recently and I came to the same conclusion. I was like, why?
Yeah,
why
it's the moment as a grown-up, you watch it and you go, this was quite good to 14-year-old, 15-year-old me watching it on video because there was very little like it. And that Queen soundtrack and everything, and it had a bit of a feel to it. It was a weird sort of underground thing and people getting their heads cut off and stuff like that. And you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
You watch it as an adult and you go, no, this is rubbish. This is just utter crap.
Well, yeah, I mean, interesting you mentioned the soundtrack there. The actual orchestral score was Michael Kamen. And interestingly, the British rock band Marillion turned down the chance to record the soundtrack. Now, we can at least be grateful for some things, and that's one of them, because can you imagine Fish singing Who Wants to Live Forever?
No.
No. Awful. It would be a wholly different experience, wouldn't it? And the opening Masters of the Universe is the track by Queen, which opens the film, doesn't it? That's the first track in the film. Here we are, born to be kings. That's and so it is just kind of periodically a Queen band video, really, without Queen in it.
Highlander has the same amount of consonants, I believe, as the word lavender. So you could do the Marillion song.
Highlanders blue, dilly dilly.
Dilly. So it would fit,
And even if amongst all of that crazy where you've got a battle royale between the Scottish Highlanders where some of them turn out to be immortal for some reason and an Egyptian appears for no reason and trains the immortal Scotsman in the ways of the immortals with a samurai sword. It doesn't matter really, does it? Any of that makes no sense, but whatever. Then in the middle of all that, there's a really weird bit where he experiences something called the Quickening, which is never used or explained outside of the fact that he can get into the mind of a deer, I think it is, or an animal, and just run fast.
Isn't that the subtitle of the sequel?
It is, but in this film, in the Quickening, he never uses it for anything. So it's an entire sequence of music and build-up, and it's almost like a training montage where he learns, "How well done, Highlander, you've got the Quickening." And he's like, "Great, I've got it." Never use it again. Never use it. Pointless. He trained him in stuff he didn't even need. If he did, Kurgan busting was really the key thing. And the Kurgan, I have to say, which is played by that really big, ugly-looking dude who's in quite a few... He's in a few films where he plays big, ugly-looking dude, isn't he? He's in Starship Troopers and a couple of others. Can't remember his name.
Yeah.
He's about the best thing in it, isn't he? The Kurgan kind of he plays it super camps it up and kind of kitches it up and plays it sort of really over the top.
Yeah.
And sort of gets away with it because everyone else in the film is as flat as a pancake, really. So he's the only real interesting thing, and life in the film comes out with the best one-liners in it because he's at least understandable. Whereas poor old Mr. Nash is just kind of comes out with really naff things. You know, he doesn't get lines like, "Hi, I'm Candy." Of course you are, and things like that. And I've got something to say, you know, all that kind of stuff that he comes out with, and all those bits. Whereas, you know, John Nash, whatever his name is, just like, "What are you doing, Ramirez?" And just anyway, stupid rubbish. Avoid.
There you go. That's quite the month. So yeah, there you go. There's your TV and films for August 1986. You had Golden Girls. You had Through the Night TV, Red Triangle films. You had loads of stuff for your eyes only, and we had Cobra, Raw Deal, and Highlander. A triple bill of action crapness.
Action crap.
That you could entertain yourself with. Don't know, because it's just a waste of time. But you know, they're fun, I guess. That's it. That's your TV and film. We'll be back after this short word from our sponsor with the last set of games, some Crapverts, charts, whatever. I don't know. You know the drill by now. We'll be back in a bit. Bye.
A huge shout out to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find bargain books and audiobooks. So Dave's books are based on his screenplays that have won at loads of festivals. Whether the story is about a bumbling detective in the future full of robots, or a time-travelling vegan climate activist, or a spacefaring fella who'll go too far for the women he loves, or even a coward who hits someone then runs. There's something for everyone. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more. Dave's podcast pick is tied between Ceti, still not sure what happened, and Saboteur, specky graphics but fun. I can't make that decision for you, Dave.
Right, welcome back to the last part for August 1986. What we got going on here? We've got some more games. We've got a few here. So let's kick into them straight away. And our first one is a disc-only based game. Got 1 to 8 base games this month. The disc-only games is all going on. This is Infiltrator. So Graham, tell us all about Infiltrator.
Infiltrator is a big old game. It's a chunky game. So it's and that's explains why it was $14.95 and disc only. So it's big. So it's a bit of a combination of kind of helicopter sim and sort of third person not say hide and seek, but find the thing game and amongst these kind of bases. Your character is called, I think it's Johnny McGibbets, isn't it, on this one, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so you're a pilot turned neurosurgeon, or a pilot / neurosurgeon, and you've got a mission against I want to say, it's just a baddie, evil leader, mad leader, bad leader, I can't remember now. I did write it down, but I can't remember. So anyway, so the idea is you've got to fly your helicopter behind enemy lines in certain parts of the levels of the game. You can, there's like an espionage part to the game and a sort of a simulator part, so during the helicopter bits, which I think are I'm not sure which order they come in. I think it's the first, and I'm not sure where it comes after that. I didn't get so far into it to get that far, but the first mission was a flight helicopter mission. Then you got to take off, so and then program your computer to sort of find the landing area. On the way, you can you meet other airplanes and things and en route, and you can sort of decide whether they're friend or foe, and you can get involved in firefights and so there's some flight simulatory stuff. And then the idea is that you kind of try and navigate your way around using your helicopter to identify the mission bases. And when you find a base, you can land at the base. And then it changes to a slightly different perspective. So from that moment forth, you're kind of a player running around a base, searching through different parts of multi-route and the buildings that are in this base to try and find sort of mission cards and security cards and secret papers you have to sort of trick the guards into letting you into certain areas. So it's a bit of a sort of a spy game, really. And it actually sort of felt a little bit like I suppose the modern day equivalent would be a Tom Clancy type game, where you've got kind of, a whole series of missions and complexity bound around sort of fixed game types. So in these missions, and this is as far as I got with it, I flew the helicopter and utilised its keyboard and joystick controlled. I managed to somehow fluke my way to a landing site and landed, and then I was able to then sort of scoot around. I was very quickly outed by the local guards in the area, so I didn't last long. I tried to knock them out with some gas grenades that I found, but the whole thing went badly wrong. I'm not known for my amazing ability at stealth-type missions in games like this, so getting around a base without making a brouhaha is kind of difficult. So some of the levels later down the line, I think, have got timers in, and there's extra characters, and there's actually quite a complex plot involved in all of this, because you've got to complete all the ground missions and then get back to the helicopter and fly back and do all of those stuff, and it gets more difficult, more complicated, and there's even like passcodes that you need to have picked up and from the various different buildings you've searched. So it is very much a game of you are a person infiltrating this world using these different techniques, and graphically it's actually pretty nice looking. I thought that from a graphics perspective it's really pushing some of the C64. There's a lot of game in here in terms of its, the simulator such as it is quite nice looking. The graphics on the game when you're running around the bases are actually pretty good, and the way it works is nice, and there's a good flow, and I didn't find the controls particularly difficult. There's plenty to go at, and it's quite an intriguing story. It's quite hard to get into from not playing this kind of game to going back into something like this, and I think to get into the headspace of this game would take a little bit longer than I had time to give it. But I actually found it to be quite a good game. I never actually had this on disc when I had a disc drive way back then, and I think I had a pirated version on disc, which was cracked by, I can't remember which group, but I don't remember it working fully. I remember getting so far into it and hitting some kind of disc-based error. So I don't think I've ever got much further in this game than I got when I played it even for this podcast. So nice looking, good graphics, gameplay, programmed really well, nice featured, good idea for an Infiltrator game, Saboteur take note, and some nice touches in the sounds and stuff. It was quite a nice package. It felt like $14.95's worth of game, I have to say, even at this end that I'm playing it at now. But that was my experience with it. But what did you think? I'd recommend it. People go and try it. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same. I mean, I'm going to sort of come at from a slightly different angle. I think it's not so much the Tom Clancy stuff. This feels more like a sort of precursor to Metal Gear Solid and those kind of games.
Okay. I don't have a lot of experience with them, so I'll take that. I'll take your word for that.
I mean, especially something like Metal Gear Solid 5, where you basically have to, it's a big open world and you travel to places, mostly on your horse, and then there's a place you've got to stealth in. And this is a kind of early precursor, even the original Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear that was on the MSX. I can see the sort of Splinter Cell link as well. I mean, it's just, it's an early stealth game. However, just take it at a different angle. This, to me, replaced the mission structure a little bit, as in what you were doing, flying in, stealthing into a base, having to get some stuff out and get at the other side. This could have been Rambo.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Yeah, it is very.
And remember when I said about in Rambo, if you wanted to, this to me is the game that I wanted Rambo to be.
Yeah.
In that, that more stealthy, going in, trying to do stuff, not having to blow everything up. And Rambo was obviously much more arcadey, ended up being. But this, I mean, you're even called Johnny.
You are called Johnny, yeah.
Yeah, you could say that's an all-American name, but there's allusions here that this is probably being made before, but I don't know. There's an argument here that this could have been the Rambo game that never was. It's programmed by Chris Gray, isn't it? Whose previous game was Whirly Nerd.
Oh God, yeah, it was.
Yeah, and also, according to Lemon64, I'm looking at the moment, was also the original idea for Balderdash. The other guy went off and made it. So the other guy, I think, took the original idea and made it, but he's down as one of the creators of Balderdash. So the guy's got some pedigree here. I mean, well, it was a weird thing, but Balderdash especially. So he's, he doesn't do much, but he does these kind of games. I found this just too hard. I couldn't get past the first section. So I followed you. You kindly sent the how to start, how to get going.
Yes, yeah,
because you've got to do the series of checks to get up and running, and I could get it, and I get it flying, and I could get moving, and I could get into the air, and there was one point where I managed to sort of bluff my way through a meeting, or didn't, and then the next one I didn't, and I just got immediately shot down, and I was dead. And I had a couple of goes, and it just kept happening. And I was like, you know what, I'd like to get further, but this just feels to me like I really wanted to get into this and play more of it, and maybe I will do, or maybe but I feel that opening sequence, that flight sequence, is just a bit too hard. It's just a bit too punishing.
Yeah.
Don't make it, especially on mission 1. Let me just kind of fly to the base. Just allow me to get used to the flight controls. Maybe someone comes past and it's obvious. Don't make me have to go through dogfighting. Make that as you progress through the harder missions. Let it build up. Don't immediately kill me. It's annoying. So that's something like modern games would have done, and old style games probably wouldn't have done, but it's something that could have been done. It feels like it wants to be sort of part sim and part arcade. It's like somewhere in the middle, but it's just leaning a bit too far in the sim direction, and it just lost me a bit as a player.
Yeah.
I didn't want all those complex controls and all this stuff. It's like, just let me shoot stuff, or don't. Like you said, visually it's very nice. It's fast. I just think, for me, it's a Rambo license looking to happen. And that would have, I would have loved that. I think that would have been great. If you didn't fly the helicopter, but you could change it around a bit, and you were parachuting out, and then you're stealthing into the base.
Yeah.
I really wanted to play more of it, and I think I might go back to it. There's a strange, weird sort of sense of humor to it as well, which is kind of odd. And the sort of static visuals are nice. I like the sort of weird, almost Airwolf-esque design of the helicopter.
Yeah, very much so. Very influenced by that, I thought.
And things like that. There's a lot of game here, and like you said, there is a lot of game. I just feel it's just, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's just a little bit too hard in the opening section. And it just is a bit too much punishing, rather than, so you don't feel invited, and it's like, nope, here's your mountain to climb. And I feel that, games have got better at onboarding people, and this feels very hard to delve into. So I haven't got that much more to say about it, because like I said, I just kept getting shot down and blown up. And then you get that comedy scene where there's just your leg sticking out of the wreckage. Yeah. So, yeah, I can see why Zapp liked it if they were getting into it and they pushed through. I mean, they say it gets worse as it goes on as well. They say the visuals get worse, and so it'd be interesting to see it. And I don't know. I mean, some of the screenshots I've seen suddenly looked a bit like Whirly Nerd, some of the characters in the base.
Yeah, they do get a little bit kind of jaunty, to say the least.
Which is kind of a bit at odds with the tone. I did find that as weird as well. The tone was a bit all over the place. I'm not sure whether it's, like I said, it wants to be sim and it wants to be arcade. Is this a war sim, realistic sim, but then you've got this Johnny blah, blah, blah over the top and all this kind of hoorah and what is this? Tonally, it's a bit mixed up. That's what I got from it anyway.
Yeah,
but
no, same.
I don't know. Yeah, Zapp obviously likes it at 92%.
Yeah, they give it a good old reviewing, and that's fair enough. There's plenty to go at with this, and it's a big old game. But I think you're right. I think thematically, it's over time in the game, it starts to lose its infiltratoriness and its spyness, and start to head into sort of silly territory. When you get, you can go to c64endings.co.uk if you really want to see what the final screens are like for this game. If you want to avoid playing it, and just don't expect greatness when you go there. Don't expect that.
I think Gary Penn noted that he thinks the developer got bored making it.
Yeah, and I think that's actually very true. It's definitely true that.
We've all had that feeling as you get towards the end of a project and you just want it done.
Yep.
And you're like, oh God, that'll do. Get out the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've all been there. All right, so yeah, it's Infiltrator. I'd like to play it more. I'd like it if it was Rambo. So, more infiltration on the way. In our next title, which scores a bang on 50% in the magazine, it's 10 quid, and that game is Nexus. Supposedly a big deal at the time.
No idea why.
This, but no, I don't really remember much about it as well. It came in that, I remember it being on the software shelves and it coming in that weird grey case.
Plastic case, bigger case, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit strange. So there's some interesting things in this, and so the whole point of this is you've got to infiltrate an underground base, and you've got to collect 32 rumours about secret Colombian drugs.
That's right, drug barons, yeah.
Drug baron, and so what this entails is wandering through a narrow strip of the screen through corridors and exploring rooms and making contact with people in the building for information. Like I said, there are some interesting ideas here. So when you ever meet somebody, when another character is on screen, you kind of get a digitized face appearing in the bottom section, which is quite interesting. It gives you a bit more character because the sprites themselves are all very similar. Just everybody's got a different jumpsuit on, different coloured jumpsuit. So having their faces appear below and it being digitized and colored digitized as well, they're not terrible. They're actually okay.
Yeah, they're kind of all right.
Yeah, they're recognizable, and so you get to know these people. You can log onto a computer at one point and skip your way through them all. That's actually quite clever, I thought. I quite liked that. So presentationally, this is doing things that a lot of games at this point are not doing. They're maybe thinking about it. Like the game starts with you jet skiing. Like it's almost like it's a cutscene. You jet skiing into an underground base. So and you get this mission brief as you're going in, explaining it as you're going in. So you essentially you're getting an opening cutscene. We don't normally see this sort of thing.
No, we don't.
And then your first thing is to make contact with the woman who's waiting you, and then she's like, "Oh, follow me. I'll show you around." Again, this is something that you won't see in games for quite some time. You know, they all follow me, I'll show you what to do. And so that's would become a staple of games later on. But this is doing it back then. There's some interesting bits in this. The problem is that it's all hung around a game that's just very, very dull and bland and boring to play. You just wander around. Like I said, you've got about probably less than a third of the screen to play in.
Yep.
So it's not even doing that split the screen into thirds to keep the scrolling down, because it doesn't scroll. What it does is, you're going to have to try and explain to me, because I didn't quite understand the flicky nature of the screen. Sometimes it would flick and I'd be in the middle. Sometimes it would flick and then it would flick and I'm on the left. And it was
buggy, this game. It had bugs in it, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, the main sprites are okay. I don't mind them too much. The animation's quite nice. I did actually quite like the fact that you jump like a normal human being and you don't somersault like every other sort of superhero character we seem to be controlling these days. So at least the jumping was kind of normal. It kind of reminded me, sitting somewhere in between, and this is a quite a wide thingy, but I think you'll see what I'm saying, is V and Impossible Mission. There's a sense of the V, the sort of levels and the lifts and the moving up and down, stuff like that, and Impossible Mission and going around and searching through rooms and things and bit like that. And it just was, but it just didn't really sort of work. It just, you know, it was more of the V end for the scale for enjoyment. It felt really dull and just a bit boring and like it wasn't finished. I think it lacks its final polish. And I think in the end there's an idea here that when it comes down to it, it's just another collectathon. It's just wander from room to room searching for stuff and finding stuff. Yeah. Wrapped up in some fancy digitized trousers. Yeah. That's what I got from Nexus. What about you?
Well, I didn't get much more out of it, I have to say. I felt that it was a cluttered, sort of hard to distinguish interface and graphics. On the surface of it, it looked like there was quite an intriguing game in there. As you said, you've got to navigate round. I found myself wandering around, following people around a lot in this game, where they said, follow me. Then I followed them, and then they just stopped in the tracks. And I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do from there on in, because it said, do I carry on following? Do I just stand here and wait? Does something supposed to happen? Then I would try and navigate my way into the interface, because this is kind of an, I want to say icon control, but not icon so much as there's a menu that you can bring up and control things with, isn't there? So you can search and do stuff with it. I just found it was that was a bit complex to get to do the things I wanted in any meaningful way, and I wasn't sure that when I did anything it really had any impact or did anything. So I just kind of slowly meandered my way around with the kind of blippy, bloppy, forgettable music going off in the background, and just didn't have a lot of fun navigating because the controls felt weird and it felt too slow. The play area was kind of an odd corridor, wasn't it? Sort of scrolling with the bottom part where the interface lurked. I just found it not very engaging and interesting. I think there's lots of ideas and fancy packaging, but the game, in amongst all that, got lost somewhere in the development, and I think it was just put out more than finished. And because of that, I think it was lots of fancy pants, but not much really there. So I have a feeling this was probably a much bigger and better game, but was either finished too early or released too early, or was remained relatively unfinished and just put out. I think it was delayed, or there was some. I remember there being some brouhaha around Nexus. I wasn't sure if there was lots of big statements about its kind of gameplay and stuff made around the time, and it was this big deal. And
well, I think there was reviews of preview copies and very, very high scoring reviews and stuff that were a bit tenuous.
And I think that Zap make a point of saying something about that and the fact that the version that they ended up with isn't really much more advanced than the demo that they got. So I think a lot of this is just remained as is. It wasn't really given the polish and finish that it deserved. So 50% is about right. It seems a shame, because I suspect a lot went into the marketing and thought behind the packaging and everything for this game, but I have a feeling that was all done to sell the game before you got to the game. And then when you actually got the game, it was kind of forgettable. So sad, really.
Yeah, lots of infiltration going on at the moment.
Infiltration and lots of complex menus brought up by buttons and things, which is not going to change much for the next game.
No, well, I'll take your word for that. So yeah, there you go. Nexus, bit bland, bit boring.
Bland.
So our next game is Time Trax. And I'll just say at the start here, I like the music, but it wouldn't work. I couldn't get this working. It wouldn't work. I don't know why. It wouldn't. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. It wouldn't run. So I can say that the music was good, but beyond that, I have no idea. So this is all over to you on this one. Time Trax. Tell us about Time Trax. Can you tell me about it? Because I don't know about it.
My initial thought when it loaded up and the game started was, had there been some kind of armed invasion in the house of the little computer person? Because it just looked like there was suddenly some kind of house siege with armed people running around inside, and I was a small little computer, because the graphics are similar, aren't they, to that little computer people type graphic?
They are,
so
yes.
Detailed but small, medium res kind of miniatures, sprites, and detailed backdrops and things. I in fact, actually a little bit too busy, but I'll come to that in a moment. So the idea of the game is that the fabric of time has been damaged, and there's some evil machinations of whatever have opened up these portals, and each one is guarded by a powerful force, and you've got to go and find these specific objects and return them to these portals so you can seal them. And in doing that, each time you hand over one of these special objects back in the portal, they give you a part of the spell, the final spell, and when you get the final spell, you've completed the game. So it's all kind of, it's a side view of graphics. So the top half of the screen is kind of a side view. Now, just think little computer people for the top half, because that's kind of the layout, kind of a multi-layered platform with detailed kind of background objects like fridges and freezers and kitchens, and it's just a bit like that. And you navigate this by running about with the joystick, and then you actually have an icon-based thing that takes up to the bottom half of the screen. Is kind of icons, objects you pick up, health indication, map view, that kind of view. And so you can run around in you start in your living room, so it's definitely in your house, searching for objects, a bit like sort of Mission Impossible Mission. I never get it right. What is it? Mission Impossible Mission.
Impossible Mission.
So it's a bit like Impossible Mission in the sense that you're searching through your house to find objects and things. There's ladders and things you can climb up and down. The henchmen come in and they sort of, you can either try and avoid them or you can shoot them if you've got bullets to do that, or you can bring up your menu. What I found was that as I played through the game, I could pick up objects and I could wander around, but when it came to utilizing the menu, the icon menu, it just didn't seem to work properly. So it brought up the menu and I couldn't seem to get it to get off that menu properly or when I wanted it to. So by pure chance, it would go back to the game and I was able to move the character around again. But sometimes it didn't do that. And I would end up very quickly, because you have like a health meter, and I would end up, once they run into you, they drain a bit of your life force, and I would end up very quickly dead and have to restart the game and try again. And I was doing that. And I'd never got off that opening screen, I have to say. I didn't get very far into the game at all. I certainly didn't get to the point where I was picking up and opening and closing portals or anything like. I could barely open the fridge door in the game and try and find anything. Because I just found that the controls just were lacking in this. It just didn't have that kind of gameplay that was really interesting. So it felt a bit like Nexus, actually. It's similar kind of notion and problems that Nexus had. There's probably a lot of game in there, but it's more icon-driven stuff, more menu-driven options. Really, I didn't like the music. I thought it was bloody annoying, and the game seemed impossible to navigate because of its menus and icons that didn't, for me, work properly, which meant that I wasn't really sure how things would function and how I could get them to work in a context that made sense. So I think there's probably a good game buried in there with Time Trax. It got 80% in Zapped, and it was a full-price game at $9.95. I think there's probably the makings, a bit like Nexus, there's probably lots of good ideas, maybe some good game in there. Some of the reviews I read and some of the reception online rate this game very highly, and all of them without exception say that you've got to take your time to get past the first bit. Once you get past the first bit and you get into it and you get used to using the navigation things, it actually becomes a much better game. I just struggled to get to that point because I couldn't really control it. So in that sense, Time Trax is probably great, but I'll never know because I couldn't really get that far into it. So that was Time Trax. And if you didn't get to play it, then probably I've just saved you some time, because I don't think you would have enjoyed it.
You think it's not my kind of game?
If you didn't like Nexus, you're not going to like Time Trax, I don't think, because it's almost kind of a better drawn version of a similar story, really, similar idea. So
right, okay. Well, I mean, I will try at some point and try and get it working, and maybe we can just add a bit in. But yeah, we don't know. Anyway, so Time Trax. Our last game, I don't know whether we've got another one after this, is Saboteur. So, Saboteur. All right. So, Saboteur is a well-loved title, as far as I'm aware. There are a lot of people who rate Saboteur quite highly. I'm not one of them. So we'll just get that out of the way first of all, okay? It's a Spectrum game. This is a flick-screen Spectrum Ninja-a-thon where you are infiltrating. There's more infiltration going on. You've got to infiltrate a fortress for fortune and glory by kicking down bad guys and taking down dogs. And everyone you take down, you get money for. The whole point of the game is to get more money. You've got to collect. There's a disc to collect, and you've got to prime a bomb before finding a helicopter and jetting off. Doing all that gains you big spondoolies. And then you can, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that afterwards. You've got lots of money. I don't know. What does a ninja do with lots of money?
Buy more ninja suits.
Do you reckon they smell?
Yes. So they'll probably buy several and new tabby boots.
So they would probably need to, wouldn't they? Because the whole point of being a ninja is not being seen. But if you could smell them coming...
Well, yeah, you want it to smell a bit dirty like your environment. The last thing you need is the provocative smell of Sainsbury's Nuvon drifting across the room you're trying to infiltrate.
How did you know I was coming? I could smell your parcel.
Do you use aerial pods? Aerial pods? There's a ninja in this room. Close all the doors, there's a ninja.
They should they should have a, so you've got lavender flavour, sort of ground dirt and stealth flavour.
yeah, it's like ninja sort of fragrances.
It'd be dead funny that awful advert where they're rolling in the bed going, what is it? I need to know. And then there's one where there's no one rolling in it and it's just a ninja. And you can't see him.
I like the idea
of just get sliced to bits with a ninja.
The ninja going to his infiltration, toolkit, opening up a box and there being different like room fragrance, office fragrance, kennel fragrance, and he has to just spray the... What are you infiltrating? I've got to break into a science lab. Well, there's the science lab spray. You'll blend in perfectly. It smells like figgy pudding. Yeah, that's the Christmas fragrance. You got the wrong one, you idiot. Now you're going to have to infiltrate a Christmas.
Well, you see that. If the sense of smell. We've got quite a good sense of smell, but if a place is guarded by dogs, theirs is way good. Yeah, it's way better than ours. So a ninja going in is going to get sniffed out in no time.
You're right. And call me old-fashioned, and I don't mean to be mean about Saboteur, again, which I loathe. But ninjas don't, as far as I'm aware, enter usually through a main entrance, like a back door or a warehouse entrance or anything like that. They tend to sneak in through that, secret ways. Because, I could be wrong, or maybe they don't, but, my knowledge of ninjas does not extend in any great capacity to how they infiltrate buildings. I would just imagine that anyone who's trying to sneak into somewhere is less likely to run into the main warehouse entrance from the dock, more likely to sneak in from a window that's open, or maybe do it that way. It's just me. I'm not teaching ninjas to suck eggs at all.
No, that smell better. Anyway, so we've got this nice smelling ninja who's going down, and this is the other thing as well. Since when do ninjas care about money? Really? They're not supposed to be like working soldiers for hire, I thought, or mercenaries.
Well, they're supposed to be assassins for hire, aren't they? But I don't know if they do
assassins for hire, but you don't like. And why is every person you kill worth money? This game makes no sense.
No.
So this was a pretty big deal on the Spectrum. It's been converted. It's out recently, isn't it? I think it came out recently for Switch and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's been a recent conversion.
I don't know why. I don't understand the love for it. The main sprite's quite nice. He's quite big and well animated, but I never liked it. I never liked the look of it. It looks like a Spectrum game. I don't like the garish look. I don't like the garish colours. The stupid O's in the background for walls. Nothing's clear. I don't know whether I'm dropping down between a level or can run off the side of a screen.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that I have to be pixely perfect lined up with a ladder to control it, or when I get up, if I push up and I'm running, I jump rather than go up it, and then I jump into a dog, or sometimes I will get to the top of a ladder and get off, and then I'll do a flying kick and kick someone, and sometimes I'll just jump. There doesn't seem to be any kind of logic or anything to any of this game. I don't like the controls. I don't like it. It's never gelled with me.
No.
Aerial gel pod. It just never has. I just can't. I don't like it. I don't like Saboteur. I think it's got 75%. They really liked it for some reason. I just think it's just a pointless, dull style of a substance.
Yep.
Bit of a run around in various garishly coloured screens.
Yep.
I don't know. You loathe it as well, do you?
No, I've never liked it, and I never liked it I've never liked any format of this game I've come across ever. And I think partly because I had mates back then who had Sinclair Spectrums who just banged on about this game endlessly. On and on and on about Saboteur. It's an amazing game. It's so good. There's nothing like it on the Commodore 64. Whenever, blah, 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 blah. I was like, you know what? That's because nobody's made crap games like this. That's why. But they went on and on about it. And one mate in particular, who, for reasons I won't go into now, was very interested in the whole idea of ninjas to the point when he, borderline became one. He would just rave about this game all the time, and for him, the idea of sneaking and infiltration and running around, Nuvon smell aside and the logic of all the game aside, for him it fed into a kind of thing at the time, which also was kind of, if you think about the time that this came out, it's also around about the way the Tiger Time, the books, the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yeah.
So, Avenger and Way the Tiger and all of those series of books came out, which all featured ninjas doing complex, ninja-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so this kind of fed into that kind of thing. And as we progress into 1987, later down the line, of course, there's more ninja games to come. But This kind of taps into that vibe. So I think that's probably why I loathe it, because I heard so much about the damn thing, and I actually think it's borderline, it's rubbish. I don't like anything about it. If for the exact same reasons you don't, I think the graphics are inept. The main character's arguably well drawn, but it is just a silhouette, really. Backgrounds make no sense. It feels like a Spectrum game on a much more capable machine. The really stupid sound effects as well, and such as they are. Pixel perfect logic, stupid things like the dogs seem, having dogs in there that just run backwards and forwards and don't chase you or don't. And it's just naff. It's just naff, stupid game logic that annoyed me. I never enjoyed anything about it. And when I revisited it, I remembered why. It's unbelievable that this game still has people out there that really love it. And I know it does, but I'm not one of them. I've never liked it. I've never rated it. I thought it was distinctly boring. And I've seen the ending of the game as well. I'm not going to spoil it for those people that want to rush out and play Saboteur, but the ending is nothing to write home about either. Just dull. A dull, stupid game. Was this a Durell game? They did a sequel, didn't they, as well? So there is a sequel to this, yeah. So Durell, Saboteur, I'm going to give that one a miss, thanks. Got a good rating in Zapped. God knows how, but it did. But there you go. Ratings are just meaningless nowadays for them, so...
yeah, I think so.
I'm not going to be playing that game anytime soon again, that's for sure.
No, it's not going to be on my go-back-to list. That's for certain. Right, I think that's it. Unless you want to cover, there's one other game that is in this issue. So this is Murder on the Mississippi. I couldn't get a copy to work at this point, but I didn't play it. The reason I didn't play it is, just for full disclosure, I've been in the process of moving house over the last, what feels like forever, with issues and everything that's been going on. And so it's been a bit of a squeeze to try and get all the games we've covered in the period of moving house and getting it recorded and pushing it in. I just didn't get a chance to hit Murder on the Mississippi. It looked quite a big game that I really needed to give a bit of time to, and I just simply didn't have it. Did you play it? Did you want to speak about it at all? So if you want to speak about it, we'll put it in here.
Yeah, I'll just give it a little bit of legs, because it's actually quite an important game and it's quite good. It's a detective story, The Murder on the Mississippi, as you might guess from the title. You play Sir Charles Foxworth, and you've got a sidekick. It's basically Sherlock Holmes and he's Watson, really. So I think Sir Charles Foxworth, and I think your servant is called either Watson or Regis. I can't remember, but either way, it's the same deal. And obviously, there's been a murder, and you are essentially walking around the ship that you're on. You're on a ship, I think it's called the Delta. I want to say the Delta, but you're on board a ship sailing to St. Louis from New Orleans. And so you've got that amount of time to try and solve the case. And you do that by wandering around the decks of the ship, the upper decks, talking to different characters, interacting with objects, getting clues and making notes, just sort of trying to figure out over that period who the murderer is. A bit like a interactive Cluedo, really. And then trying to catch that person before you actually land. Because if you haven't caught the person before you get to St. Louis, they escape and then you don't solve the game. So you can still decide who you think the murderer is, but they actually get away. So the game looks and plays like a later LucasArts game. So it's got that kind of LucasArts vibe. So you control you've got your player, the main player, and you control it by moving left and right with the joystick. You go in and out of different rooms. You then can bring up a pop-up menu where you can pick up, push, talk to. It's very similar to Kraken and later down the line, of course, Monkey Island and things like. And it's actually pretty good. There's a lot to it. You've got to collect, and the puzzles aren't easy to solve either, and you've got to try and make sense of it. You can't accuse characters, but if you get that wrong, you get a different ending. There's 4 different endings for the game, believe it or not. So there's variations. One where you don't actually save anybody or solve the crime. There's others where you get it right. There's ones where you might accuse the wrong person, and then that could all go horribly wrong. So it's actually quite a good little whodunit. I found sometimes the clues in the game are a little bit vague. It's something that is kind of a scum issue that other games of this type suffered from a similar problem as well, that sometimes it took a bit of lateral backstep thinking to piece together the component parts of the puzzle for it to make sense. So Zapped Kraken was famous for doing that because it had some really arbitrary things. If you didn't know to pick up the cracker thing at this particular point, when you needed it 6 hours into the game, you didn't have it. And stuff like that. So that can happen here to some extent as well. So you can quickly come to the wrong conclusion based on the evidence. And then even though it kind of all points to that, you think, how is that not the right thing? So the graphics are kind of blocky, but in that kind of scum kind of way. Mm-hmm. It feels like a LucasArts game, and I quite enjoyed playing it. It is a little bit blocky and quite brown, but there's some amazing ideas in there, and it actually controls pretty well. So I hadn't actually played it before this at all. It was a game that I'd never come across, so it really surprised me about what it was. And when I saw it, and I thought to myself, actually, it really is proto LucasArts. It's proto Maniac Mansion and that kind of thing. So I think it's an important game for people to play because it is those things. It is very tough, though. It is a tough nut to crack in terms of trying to piece together the clues because they're not, it's not even that they're immediately obvious. They're actually very difficult sometimes to make sense of. And you think, actually, I wouldn't have ever come to that conclusion, but okay. So it's a good game. It got quite a nice score in Zap, I think. They gave it, I don't know, what did they give, what the score did they give it?
89%.
So 89, it's a disc-only game. I think maybe they beat it down a little bit because it's quite expensive and it is over a finite time space. And there is game variation, so you could go back and play it slightly differently and get and it might be a different murderer. So there is a little bit of that, but the endings are the endings of the endings. So once you've seen all 4 of those, you've kind of done it. And it is all done in one sitting, really, of course. So, and it's not so much that you die, but there are ways that the game could sort of go wrong and you have to restart and stuff like that. So it's a bit punishing maybe in that respect. Maybe that's why they gave it a slightly lower score. I just don't think sometimes some of these games come along like that. A bit like Law of the West and a few other games, when they're so completely different to anything else that they don't quite know how to score them. Because this, if you put this alongside Maniac Mansion and some of those other games, it wouldn't look out of place necessarily. Not quite as good, but it should score as highly as those in terms of where it's at. But at this particular state, the icon menu system isn't quite right yet. It's nearly there, but not quite. The speech, because you have to obviously ask questions, and some of the logic behind the questions that you ask doesn't quite work yet. So it feels a little bit like sometimes you can be talking to somebody and sometimes it can just end really quickly, and you've got to remember everything. So you've got to write these stuff down and take notes and stuff. So I think maybe they were punishing it a bit for that. But I thought it was actually a really interesting game and quite good. So if you do get an opportunity to play Aid, I would definitely try and find a way. I think I put a working version in there, unless you tried that and it didn't work. But when you get a minute, actually, when you've got time, I know moving house is a nightmare. So when you've actually got settled in and some time and you've got maybe an hour or two to spare, I would definitely recommend powering that up and having a go, because it is, I think, quite an important and interesting game.
I do want to play it. So what I think I'll do is just so, I think what I'll do is will play it and then I'll just record some thoughts and you can just... So we're going to insert my thoughts probably here. So I tried to get this going, but I couldn't get it running. So obviously I said I would try, and for this insert, I gave it a go, but I couldn't. So I gave it a quick look. I gave a watch on YouTube, and I seem to probably look like Graham was spot on the money there. This does look like an early prototype version of a Lucas Arts game, the Scum engine type thing. So you things like Maniac Mansion, and then down the line, Monkey Island and things like that. It does look like something I would probably enjoy. The graphics look quite nice. It looks quite characterful and the writing's quite funny. Just a shame I couldn't get it running. So maybe one day in the future I will, and I can give a better, more balanced opinion. But as of right now, you'll just have to rely on Graham's learned words. There you go.
They were great thoughts. Well done. Excellent. Yeah, best thoughts ever.
Sounds like I quite enjoyed it. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Maybe you didn't.
Anyway,
we don't know.
We don't know.
But I'm right about that saddle, though.
Absolutely. And if I don't actually play it, then there's just a strange blank bit there.
I'll put some music in there. Yeah, but a Spanish flea. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, something like that.
Right, that's it. So there we go. That's Murder on the Mississippi. That's all our games. Okay, so we've looked at quite a few games there, haven't we? We've looked at quite a lot of stuff. Before we move on we have got Return of the Crapverts. We've got a couple more. Every now and again, there's a couple pop up. Before we do, we looked at Ceti, ICUPS, Ollo 1 and Ollo 2, Legend of the Amazon Women. We looked at Infiltrator, Nexus, Time Trax, Saboteur, Murder on the Mississippi, and obviously loads of films as well. So that's your games that we covered. We'll probably pick some from this issue in a bit, but let's have a quick look at a couple of Crapverts. So the first one, if you can see that.
I can see it.
Take up the challenge. Now, it's a boring advert.
Lots of text in there, isn't there?
Yeah, well, you got to read the text. I'll read it out to you. Virgin Atlantic Challenge game. In the summer of 1986, the crew of Virgin Atlantic Challenger once again attempt to win the coveted blue ribbon title for Britain by crossing the Atlantic Ocean in the record time of 3 days and 10 hours. Virgin Games brings you the Virgin Atlantic Challenge game. This arcade game is a fun simulation of Richard Branson's part in this exciting and dangerous event.
Niche.
You must guide Richard at breakneck speed from one piece of equipment to another to keep the boat on course and in good time, and take vital money-making or breaking decisions that are telex to him from all parts of the Virgin Empire. Now, if that doesn't sell a game to you, I don't know what does.
So this is less a boat race simulation and more a Richard Branson simulator.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Of the Virgin Atlantic. It's essentially it's a sales pitch for him going across there and you making him money as he gets telex stuff. It was, it's such a boring advert,
Yeah, and is that boat that they're in? Is that the
yes, that's the boat,
Atlantic Challenger? Is it so?
I believe so. Yes,
because it looks like a fast boat, doesn't it? So
I mean, it's gonna be. He's got to cross the Atlantic in 3 days and 10 hours. So it's gonna be fast. But it's just the fact that you've got a fun simulation of Richard Branson.
I know, it's the Branson simulator. In fact, weirdly, the look of the advert, because it says take up the challenge in a really nice scripted font, actually. I quite like that. Although it looks like 2 different fonts, but it's a nice scripted font at the top. And then it all just goes downhill from after that, doesn't it? Lots of boring text, a really boring looking box with a picture of a boat on it.
But I like the bit at the bottom, the cutout bit. Please rush me my copy.
Yeah, I know. Rush me my copy
Atlantic
of the
Challenge game.
Yeah, right. Who's gonna?
It's all right, mate.
No one ever filled that in, did they? Who's going to cut that out and send that off?
No.
$8.95 for that for Richard Branson simulator. I imagine the game is just a picture of him surrounded by little icons, and it says, turn left, turn boat right. Buy shares in.
Show teeth.
Yeah. Your airline is making less money. Make it make more money. Okay.
It's just such a weird thing.
Stupid
idea.
idea.
Take vital money making.
Can you imagine? Because they could extend the logic to nowadays. Could have the Elon Musk simulation.
The Mark Zuckerberg sim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just the Bezos simulator. Do you wish to go up in a rocket? Yes or no? Cost 25 million. Oh, I don't know. It's quite a lot of money.
Check down back of sofa. Oh, there's 25 million.
Elon Musk has rang you and said, I challenge you to a moon race.
Call him crazy or join in his madness.
Call him crazy and then unleash the moon bots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, stupid idea for a stupid game. It is a pitch for the Richard Branson simulator, which sounds like a brilliant title for an album by some kind of prog band. Hello there, everyone. We are the Richard Branson simulation.
It's like a proto being John Malkovich.
We'd like to introduce you to this. This is the invention of Richard Branson Mark II. We hope you enjoy our new direction. After
10 minutes of playing this, you get ejected onto the side of the A46.
Yeah. I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Richard Branson first, puppet show second. For goodness sake. Oh dear. Badadvert.com. Another crapvert for sure, that.
Yeah, take a look at the next one.
Oh no. It went wrong. As soon as I saw for some reason, they've got the word design in the corner twice.
Well, it's
design, isn't it? Is that what it's by? Oh, gosh.
Yes, so I just want to sort of roll the clock back to my dislike for bands who can't think of 2 different words.
I was thinking
we
about
now have a software company that's called Design. There's many different words. So what is this?
Is that Taking Tiger Mountain? So that's the first game, Taking Tiger Mountain, which is
some vector-based. It looks like what's the Battle Zone? I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Battle Zone.
Oh, the world's worst version of Tron ever.
But it's a realistic tank and a realistic gland, and then in the background it's all vectors. I don't like the mix.
Planet. No, I don't.
And also a Death Star. What is it? There's a vector Death Star.
There is a vector Death Star. Or a badly drawn eye, like a Garfield eye with no eyeball.
And maybe that's 2 eyes at the top and one's in the background. Is that thingy. So this is, Tiger Mountain. So this is, I don't know, some rubbish. But it's the bottom one that got me because it looks like... Do you remember the cricket commentator, Fred Truman?
Yes, it does.
It looks like Fred Truman in a red suit.
Blended him with a monkey.
And then stuck him in the suit from Metroid.
Yes, that is a Metroid-y suit, isn't it? He's got the obligatory muscles where humans don't actually have them as well. So, and a very elongated sort of right thigh. So his knee joint is really low down on his. He's got a sort of a 75 to a metre long thigh, then a knee, and then a really small boot.
Torso is too short. because his pecs are too high, so his groin is too high. His groin is too close to his chin.
And he's got really, really emboldened man pants on, like underpants, with what can only be described as little testicle dots. So it makes his underpants look like an angry bird. Like a beak.
Oh, no, we're back in bird bulge territory.
He's got a pant beak, which is not good. And he looks a bit like a monkey. And his left hand is sporting some kind of smoking pistol. His right hand is a bit kind of just gripping the air in kind of anger.
Yeah, and behind him, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I can't.
Well, has he got his foot on a robot, or has he stood on something that's he's shot?
I think he's got a foot on a robot, and there's a robot surfing on a cloud of smoke. I think that robot might have farted really badly.
Well, it says, Nemesis.
I'm not sure.
The countdown has begun. One man stands alone to defend the ultimate weapon, Nemesis, from the Andromedian robot forces.
Yeah, Andromedian. That made me laugh as well. The Andromedian.
Dear. Andromedian. So they've got one hump, are they? And then like a camel. Dromedy robots, is it? I can't remember what the word is for a one-humped camel, but something
Dromedary.
Like that. It's something like that, isn't it?
It is, yes.
He has to escape with the Nemesis intact or start the countdown to self-destruct. Well, that seems very futile.
Time is running out.
Every second counts. Well, it often does if time's running out. For the Spectrum and Amstrad CPC range. Did they have a range of Amstrad CPCs or Spectrums? I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
I suppose it's Spectrum 16, 48. Amstrad colour at the CPC 464 and 646, weren't there?
No actual screen grabs, is there, from...
Nope.
No, which is always suspicious,
It is the definition of a crapvert.
It is, yeah, and it's got that. It's all in a box, and then they've got the design logo in that. And that is what is called neon, isn't it? That's old-fashioned, trying to stylize it like a neon sign. So, and it's not actually in a neon font. So it's just black. So it's like the neon lights have been switched off and broken, and then someone's just spray painted the background with a blue wave. Why wouldn't you, on a colour advert, make the design neon sign look like a neon sign? I don't know. I don't have the answers for them. They do it on the lasers, on the image, on the Nemesis image. It's got kind of neon-y looking lasers. They could have just applied that logic.
All the Battlezone tanks at the back have got glow on them.
I'm making too much sense for an advert that features the word design in the top right-hand corner for no reason whatsoever. It's just there. There it is. Design, just in the corner. It doesn't need that. Is that your logo? Or is it the one at the bottom in the middle that's design in that kind of sideways neon? Just no. This is why you don't name things design. It's just not good.
It's not. It's really not.
It's a stupid play on words that hasn't paid off. You and your Monkey Man game and your weird tank space simulator can sod off. So take your Crapvert and get out.
And on that note, let's have a look at the chart. So counting down from number 10. In at number 10 we have Golf Construction Set. Bear with me a moment, I'm just going to bring this over here. Down to number 9, Formula 1 Simulator. New in at number 8, Way of the Tiger. New in at number 7, Bump Set Spike. New in at number 6, Nexus. Up to number 5 is World Cup Carnival. Ugh.
Terrible.
Down to number 4 is International Karate. New in at number 3 is Silent Service. Down to number 2 is Thrust. And in at number 1, straight in, we have Green Beret.
Yeah, makes sense.
It does make sense. That chart was from Commodore User. I couldn't find one in Steam VG, so we just got the one.
This makes sense.
So there you go. Games from this issue. Graham, what are we putting in? Are we doing any? I think we should.
Yeah, I think Green Beret.
Green Beret.
Yeah, and I would actually. I mean, I'll reserve putting it in until you've played it. But I think Murder on the Mississippi really deserves to go in there because it's actually pretty damn good.
And probably Tau Ceti as well.
And Tau Ceti, yeah, I was going to say
Tau Ceti. Technically, very impressive.
Yeah, it's been the story of this episode really, and this series of games we've played. That there's been lots of technical cleverness, lots of really good stuff, lots of amazing things. Even down to Shogun's attempt at doing something different. But they just don't seem to quite get the controls or the formula of the game right. It seems to be one or the other at this moment in time. If you draw it back and keep it nice and simple, you get Green Beret, and then all your problems are solved. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, they do have the benefit of sort of porting a brilliant arcade game, but it's still technically incredibly incredible. It can go wrong, but the incredible getting that game in 64K.
It's astonishing, isn't it? It is.
Amazing. It's just amazing. All right, so there we go. Play Green Beret. Really, go play it. Next week, what we got next issue is issue 17, so we're looking at September. Games review, we've got Iraq, Beer Belly Bert's Brew Biz.
Oh, no.
I think we've actually got another Cheapest Creepers lot. So there's another budget roundup. So we'll have a Cheapest Creepers load again. So Caverns of Erebon, I think. Danger Mouse in Double Trouble. Okay. Dragon's Lair.
Oh, interesting. Quite good.
Droids. What? Dragon's Lair? What? Sorry?
Dragon's Lair's quite interesting, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Escape from Singe's Castle. It's the better one, though, isn't it?
It is, but Dragon's Lair features that really unique loader.
It does, yeah, where they would load the next level in while you were playing the first old
level,
one.
yeah. Very clever
Yeah, clever that was. Droids, Floyd Droid, Formula 1 Simulator,
okay,
Freaky Factory, Galaxy Birds, Ghost and Goblins.
Ooh, Ghost and Goblins. Goodness.
Hercules, Jet Strike Mission. Oh, Night Games.
Ah, cool. Nice music from Dave Whittaker in Night Games. That'd be interesting
really
to play.
Good, yeah. Mission AD.
Wow, okay.
Mission Elevator.
That sounds less good.
Necromancer. I'm not sure about these.
Really bad.
Some of these might be adventures. Nightwalker. That sounds like a sort of dodgy Clint Eastwood or Charles Bronson film from the 80s.
It does. Yeah.
He's tracking down the Nightwalker. Then we've got, which also could be a Clint Eastwood film, Ninja Master.
Yeah, that's more like Lee Van Cleef. He's going to be in that.
Lee Van Cleef is Ninja Master.
He was in The Master, one of the TV series.
He was. Second City, I think that's a
simulator,
mercenary expansion.
Okay. Right.
Split Personalities.
Okay.
Trap.
Interesting. Trap.
Video Poker.
Less interesting.
Yeah, Warhawk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Way the Tiger and Wing Commander. Now, I don't know which ones of them are adventures or whatever, but if they're all games, that's a lot of bloody games.
It is. Wing Commander's a budget game. It's that Microsoft. It's that Mastertronic one. So it isn't great. I'm saying it right now. It isn't.
Okay.
It's one of those classic green and blue simulators.
Wing Commander.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm aiming towards the ground. Therefore, it's more green. Oh, look at this, the sky. Thankfully, it's more blue.
Yeah, on the green.
On the green, you're in the blue.
Yeah. Trap. Trap's a shoot 'em up, isn't it?
Trap is the shoot 'em up, but of course it's got the famous Trap demo in it. So
it does, yes, absolutely. So there you go. That's what's coming over the next couple of episodes. I think that's about it from us. Have you got anything you wish to add? I don't think we have we?
No, absolutely not. We've been through a hell of a lot this evening, and next episodes are going to be ram-packed with stuff, so...
Oh, yes, they are. So wish us well. I think on that note, I'm going to say I've been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Ruddings.
And we have been Zapped to the Past. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Ruddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.